Okay, I did it. I'm back. We're back. We're back. I just need to do one more thing. But while I do this, and I haven't completely stressed myself out, y'all go ahead and please like, share, subscribe, um, do all that good stuff. And if you wouldn't mind watching it from the YouTube channel, that would be great. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Paste. I'm here though. We're talking the limited black mind and we're talking toxic femininity. I promise. I promise you we are. I hope that's right. Okay, so while I wait for those that I just sent this link to join us, we can talk about it. Yeah, I don't know what happened to those links, but you know what? God's timing is not my timing, so we're gonna work that thing right on out. Oh, monkey nut. It still works. Okay. So it says the limited black mind, unlimited black dollar. And that is what we're going to talk about. Last week, we talked about racism in school systems, how it made you feel, if slavery was beneficial to us, and the likes thereof. So we're going to talk about a little bit more on the Black matter and why this topic is important to everyone, and not just the Black community, but everyone, so that we are all aware of how valuable, or maybe not valuable, the we are as a people. Okay. I'm just trying to make sure I'm doing everything right. I don't feel like it, but it's okay. That's what I need to do. Again, go ahead and like, subscribe, and just stick with me. Stick with me. Stick with me. Be patient with me, please. Please. Okay, it's been a day. It's been a day. Control V. Spell stuff wrong and all that jazz, but you know what? Glory to the Lord. Anyhow. Okay, good, great. Okay, that link worked. Yay. I'm going to bring you in now. Okay, expanding daily. There we go. Welcome back. Thank you for your patience. Ooh, yes. We figured it out. We figured it out. You look nice. You look nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, because we already like, we'll just just right in. So, I would wait for I know Stelson should be joining us. I think he's testing his equipment. And if anybody else wants to join, yes, please click the link. There is a link. There should be a link on whichever page you're viewing it on. What do you call that thing? If you cannot click it on YouTube, just copy paste, put it in your web browser. You should be able to click it though. Okay. Thank you and thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're talking the limited black mind. What was your immediate thought when um, those words were paired together? I guess I can say.
I figured we were talking about just not having growth, a growth mindset.
So it's that, and it also, I think, and it also pairs with how we limit ourselves and the power that we have as a group and individually. So I was talking to someone, and he was talking about how I'm bringing you in, Stelson. He was talking about how.
SCP.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, very well.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Home now. Listen, this is a whole new setup, a whole different setup when I'm home. Y'all not ready for this.
That's that. Oh, we're not ready. Okay. Turn it. We
Nah,
gotta mute his mic. Oh, okay. So we were talking about how he said he doesn't boycott anything because his $1 basically won't make a difference. And I'm like, that's the problem. It's both. Both. And I'm like, that's the problem with us. We limit ourselves in a major way. And instead of, won't you jump on here, Jay? So, how do you feel about how we limit ourselves as a people and what we can do individually versus what we can do as a whole? And can the individual make a difference? There's a lot of
no.
information.
In short, no. Individual cannot make a difference.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. We heard you.
Oh, we
Oh,
heard
okay,
you. Oh,
okay,
we heard,
oh, okay, okay. Well, that was just like a shock.
Loud
Yeah.
and clear.
we heard it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, an individual cannot make a difference. I mean, you can, you can start a, you could, it could be a domino effect. Because you think about dominoes and how one domino falls, and it just leads down the line of dominoes. But if you ever seen dominoes fall, sometimes you get to one and then bam, the other ones don't really fall, right? And so it can make I think it can make a fabric of a difference, but just one individual like trying to make a complete difference, no.
Okay. Before I say anything to your domino analogy, expanding daily, would you like to say something on that? I saw a couple of face cringes and
Right, because I'm such a fan of ST3, and that was a shocker. I think that for sure one person can make a difference. I think everything starts with one person having a conversation, or one person deciding they're going to change or not conform, whatever the case is. It always starts with one person deciding to parent better, and now you're raising four or two children that are like minded. So it always starts with one person for me.
I use the domino effect, and I agree with her. And that one person does make the difference. And this person actually, Jay, actually comments exactly what I was thinking. Malcolm X is an individual that started a major event. Martin Luther King is an individual that started a major event. And like you said, there's always that one domino that there might not always, but there's that one domino that stops the flow of traffic. That was an individual that stopped the flow of traffic, right? One person made a huge difference for the people that was behind him or her. So I definitely think one person can make the difference. Just like I think $1 or one person boycotting one place can lead to other people boycotting one place. Ultimately, it's going to take more people, but I do think an individual can make it happen.
Well, and so you kind of just hit on that point just there when you said it's going to take more people. Those Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, those were spokespeople. Those were spokespersons to an entire movement. So, and oftentimes I think what we do is we single those people out, but we don't ever group the rest of the people that were involved in that movement as well. So that's, to my point, again, why it doesn't just take one person. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were the most popular people within the grouping of people because what they said made sense, but they were getting that information from somebody else.
I think that it takes, I think having a team or a group moves things faster. I'm rewatching Hustle, Rhythm and Flow. I don't know if you ever seen it on Netflix with Cardi B, Chance the Rapper, and Ti.
And
And
he smoked.
Chance the Rapper is like very specific in what he says. He's like, okay, be careful certain imagery. People will try to change or try to slide in their agenda. And that's one person making those statements that is shaping the outcome for other people. I feel like having a team, Beyonce always talks about having a great team, but it's still her vision. It's still her desire. So I think that in the case of Martin Luther King, I would agree spokesperson, but I still believe that he had a desire to do it, and that he was able to rally some people, or they rallied him, whichever way you want to look at it. But it started with somebody saying, you know what, we're not going for this.
And then with that one individual, how would anything happen if everybody else was like, "Oh no, the two of us can't do anything because the two of people led to three people." And then what happened if the three of them were like, "Oh no, it's just three of us, and there's 30 million other people that we need to get involved."
And my
So
mom, oh, sorry.
go ahead.
And my mom said something when I was in grade school. She said, "Don't be afraid to ask the question. You know, if you don't understand it, ask the question. Because most likely there's someone else who doesn't understand it, but they're too afraid to say something." So oftentimes it might be several people are thinking the same way, but
Hmm.
one person has to first say, "You know what? We're done with this," or "I'm done with this," and then somebody's like, "Yeah, me too." You know, so it starts with somebody making that conversation. Someone has to be brave enough or strong enough or whatever to first say something.
Well, then in that case, I don't think it's correct to say that it takes one person to make change. I could say we could say that it takes one person to inspire a group of people to come together to begin that change. But if we just say one person inspires that entire change, then I think that's an incorrect statement. I think the correct statement would be one person says, you know what, I had enough. And then another person hears that and says, hey, you know what, I agree with you. We should do something about it. And together they come together and say, all right, these are the steps that we're going to take to do something about it. Just like right now, we got a strike going on in the entertainment industry. It's not one person that's going to change that. It's going to take a bunch, it's going to take a group of people, but there's like-minded people that saying, you know what, we've had enough of this. They come together and form a group now going to rally that change. But to say one person inspires a change, it doesn't take one person. Let me rephrase that. It doesn't. When you're somebody mentioned the seed, planting the seed and growing it, but someone has to come behind there and water it, right? Somebody has to come the next day and water it. Somebody has to come there and till the plant, right? There has to be different people there or processes that are done. So
I
one
think yeah, I
person,
think you're proving our point though with that
I think
analogy.
so.
'Cause I was thinking the same thing. You know, the Bible talks about you plant, but you might not see the harvest. You might not be the one to reap the harvest. But
right?
somebody had to put the doggone seed in the ground. Because then there'll be no need for the person that's coming to water it, the person that's coming to prune or receive the harvest. Somebody had to actually put the seed in the ground. And for myself in high school, I was considered radical, I guess. And I felt like the black students, we need to get together and we can do this. And they wasn't having it. I was a lone soldier out there. And 5 years later, those black students, after we done graduated high school, are calling, yeah, man, we get it now. We wish now we understand what you were saying. But somebody had to do it. Yeah, I was by myself and it didn't feel the best, but I'm not going for the BS, and you're not gonna mistreat us even though we were the minority at that school. So one person, it has to do it.
So
Well, even go.
did the
Go
students
ahead.
behind you, okay, so say your class didn't go with the mindset that you had, did students behind you fill in the gap?
I think, especially when it came to Black History Month, those trends continue. I think, but as Black people get more comfortable, they stop wanting change. And we talked about this last time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that the things that I started, back in 2000, 2002 or whatever, are not going on as much as they were before because Black people, I mean, a lot of people are YOLO. I'm gonna do me, and who cares about everybody else.
Well, the domino stopped moving. It got to that part of the line where the other domino didn't hit, and so now the dominoes before it fell down, but the rest of them are still standing.
But there was
Right, but
still
that's
change during the time that I was a domino hidden.
right, and that's just like a lot of things that Black people do. We justice for George Floyd, justice for Judge George Floyd. We want this. We got two things, and we're like, okay, cool, we good.
Right.
And that's for some reason how we operate. But it still took one person, let's say George Floyd, to make those few things happen. So yeah, I agree. I think a lot of what you're saying confirms what we're saying, or agrees with what we're saying, or backs up what we're saying.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think to say that one person can make the change versus one person inspired to change. I guess it's just depending on how you phrase it. I think
If you
just even
inspire a change, if you're inspired a change and a change is made, you made a change. You made the change. You made the change. Sure, you had to help with other people, but your inspiration made something happen.
sure.
So let's talk why we limit ourselves in thinking that one person cannot create or make a change, but we fail to equate that with spending power. So like the guy I was talking to, he was like, well, my little $1 isn't going to do anything. But I'm like, yeah, your little $1, if you talk to one other person, their little $1 makes two. Talk to the next person, whatever. And Black people don't realize how powerful we are. Let's not even say in person or in mental strength or whatever, but in funds. Why can't we understand the value we have in funds? You're muted. Sorry.
I think we do. I think it's do I care enough? But I feel like, yeah, 100% we know that if we, do this collectively with our dollar, that we can make change. But do I care enough to do it? And do I want to rally with you? Do I want, it's just so island mindset. We just like, oh, I'm my own island, you know.
Well, we got to look at also what the Black community as a whole, what we do when we get the money, because we make the money, right? It's what we do, where we spend it, and in most cases, the money we don't spend it in the appropriate places. We don't place it in the right places. We place it in things that are materialistic. We place in things that have no substance and not going to further the benefit of anybody. It's rooted in selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with persons who said that my dollar ain't going to do nothing, he's not incorrect in saying that, because ultimately what it comes down to is, once it's all about me, it's what I got to get mine, and we see that from our music, we see that from the presentations of how we take our money and spend it and try to present it out to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at what we spend our money on, you know just go to the hood.
And
They
the reason why we spend our money on those things.
first and foremost, the reason why we even try to make money. What's the purpose behind making the money? Most cases, the purpose of making the money is so that we can buy these things and spend them in these places, so that we can have this type of a presentation
Right.
about ourselves, you know and it's the idea at the beginning.
Right. So the basically conversation stemmed from um the fraternal organization Alpha Phi Alpha taking their conclave, or their biannual, is it biannual, every other year they're meeting out of Florida, and putting it in Texas. And I was saying every other fraternity should do the same to um, stop money from coming into the state of Florida. And this particular person was like, well, if they move it out of the state, then I won't be able to go. And I'm like, you literally just said your $1 can't make a change. You also just said you were very individualistic, but now you want to be like focused on yourself, and saying that because even though it'll help um make a point or make a stand for the Black community, you don't want to do that because you will be able to go to it. And he says that the money that they spend in Florida, DeSantis won't even realize that it's not being spent in Florida. Does that make sense?
So what do they want to do exactly? They want to take the money and do what with it?
Who? The
You're saying they want to take certain amount of funds and put it where?
They're saying they're the alpha. You talk about the alphas. They're moving their whole meeting out of Florida because they don't want to give Florida, the state, the tourism money, any kind of funds. They don't want to give the state any kind of funds because if they do, it's basically saying that Florida's still doing, still in the black, making all this money and thriving, and that's because of DeSantis. He's a great governor because he's still bringing money into Florida, so they're trying to prevent that. Like
And
they're earning the money for the organization,
right.
but they don't want to have it here because they don't want it to look good on DeSantis's record. And they're also
So,
making a stance that we're not going to celebrate in a state that's not celebrating us.
but who does that hurt at the end of the day?
You tell me. I don't see who it hurts. It hurts the state because the state does not have 20 million or however many $1 million they're going to spend.
Or even if it doesn't hurt the state, it still doesn't help the state.
Good point.
It might not hurt the state, but it won't further help the state. I think that's the point.
Right.
I mean, people, it doesn't have to be a hurt.
True, but if it doesn't hurt, then what does it do?
It doesn't help.
So they want to take the money out of the state and move it where? Move it to a different state?
A different location. Mm-hmm.
Different location?
A different state.
A different state entirely. And the proposed state is where?
Texas, which does not help.
How does that solve that problem?
What do you mean? How does that solve what problem?
If they're moving it to Texas, how does that solve? Because Texas, if the idea is to move the money out of Florida because of DeSantis, which is, red wing Republican, to another state of Texas, which is another red wing state, how does that solve their issue of keeping the money away from DeSantis?
It's what's going on in the state of Florida that they're focused on. So the change in education or what's being taught in education. I think that I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I don't understand how you're getting there. Just because it's going to another state that is Republican, it's not helping DeSantis. So instead of the record being, oh, he had $1 million, now the record is he had 30,000 or 300,000. It still doesn't hurt him. It's still a good number. I'm using low numbers just for the sake of using low numbers, but It doesn't help him. It doesn't pad his record even more because of what he's decided to do. It's not about red versus blue. It's DeSantis. That's their focus. DeSantis. Period.
On the treatment of minorities. So it's not even just about the educational system. It's about how he's felonized being a non-citizen of the state and how Hispanics had to flee for fear of imprisonment. Like it works for you when it benefits you, but now you want to change that and threaten the lives of other people, like the livelihood of other people. Even with, I think, is it DACA or DECA, one of those things where they can come in and get their education. Like you're I'm sorry?
DACA.
Right. You're ending that. Like, why? How does that? So they're doing that. They're basically doing that in protest of DeSantis' actions with the state, like she said. And, so though Texas is close, Texas isn't the best of places either when it comes to that. But Texas has not reached the level that Florida is reached. And if they stop Florida, they can stop other people. This is what will happen to your state if you do what DeSantis has done.
I'm not too familiar with this group that you're referring to. What do they do exactly? Like, what do they bring here to the state exactly?
Well, it's a historically Black fraternity.
Okay.
They will bring to the state at minimum probably $25 million. And that's probably with them just doing their own event. That doesn't include when their brothers come into town and they frequent the restaurants, frequent the club scene, when they buy gifts for their family, rental cars, flights in. It doesn't even include all of that. That's just a base of what they're going to spend in order to host their conference.
So the issue is if they come to Florida, then they're gonna possibly go to um, places that are owned by Caucasian people. Is that what the issue is?
No, they, of course, their main objective, their main idea is to, or from my understanding, and I don't know, I just use the Alphas as an example, but they would like to frequent black owned establishments, and they were supposed to have it in Tampa. There aren't that many black owned establishments in Tampa anyway. And I had the conversation with someone, with this guy, and he was like, "Well, you're taking out the jobs, the little people. They won't be able to work. You're you're taking dollars out of the small black owned businesses." To which I said, "There aren't that many. You're taking things money out of the mom and pops." And I'm like, "But you don't realize that they're taking the majority out of the majority of the money out of the wealthy, the people who own the convention center, the people who own the clubs. Black people don't own the clubs. Black people don't own all of these restaurants y'all are talking about." So yeah, the little man might hurt right now, but it's the bigger one we need to hurt, because they're going to be the ones that step up. If all black people boycotted Delta, for example, Delta, even though their station or their hub is in Atlanta, they're going to come here and be like, "Hey, DeSantis, my guy, you need to like fix this because we're losing money. So we have an issue with you also." And
Well,
that's what they're attempting to, well, that's the point I'm assuming that they're attempting to make.
that's what they're trying to do, but then it could backfire because what can happen is now they raise the prices, kind of like what we're seeing now with a lot of, in different industries where the prices are being raised. Obviously, that's just not because of people not buying stuff, but we can that could be a direct result of that now. And then once again, who does it hurt? It hurts those small fishes, right? We're trying to hurt the big fish by taking this event out, but then ultimately you're still hurting the small fishes, the people who your convention, your business helps them. Maybe that weekend is the best weekend that they see all year. That weekend, you coming out there is promotion now. All the media coverage that they're getting, all the social media posts that they receive, just the word of mouth now. But by taking that away now, you're hurting them in a sense. And so to go back to the point of the whole dollar situation, it's we don't own anything. We don't own anything at the end of the day. So it's very hard to hurt anybody and you don't own anything. Yeah, we got the most buying power, but where we're going to spend it? We don't own no airlines. I mean, we own a few little restaurants here and there, small bit,
Right.
no chains, no, the convention center. Like we don't own none of that. We don't own no true infrastructure. So
Right.
ultimately, the people we are hurting is ourselves.
We don't own any of that, but we can control it. Dollars control everything. Everything. So if we withhold those dollars, we may not own it, but we can definitely control it.
True, but then it goes to the question of where people need things, right?
Right. Hmm.
Basic necessities. What are we going to do about that? Where are we going to buy those things from? How are we going to
What do
get
you
easy access to them?
what do you mean, like the grocery stores?
Grocery stores, going to hand soap,
Hmm.
beauty
There are
products.
there are so many people, black people who own those things. And I'm reading a book called Buying Black for a Year or something like that. And she's talking about the difficulty her and her husband had in making that decision. Because I'm trying to do it at least for 60 days. I'm gonna challenge my sisters and myself to do it. And she said it made a lot of things she had to get outside of her comfort zone to do it, and it didn't feel good. She had to be inconvenienced sometimes, or she had to pay more maybe sometimes, but it is doable. I think black people we cannot say, oh, we need to do better, but oh, it's an inconvenience to do that. Where are we gonna find it's out there. There's a lot of Facebook groups who are black owned. I mean, we have one in Orlando, black owned businesses in Orlando. They have a whole list of people who are selling products, who offer services. Black people just don't want to take the time, the effort, or whatever to do it.
Right.
We know that there's black soap people. Like we know that black people make soap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but you said, well, who do we know black people that make soap? Yeah, we know that they
But
do.
that said, how easy is it to access it?
Facebook. I'll send you somebody that makes soap. I know someone, Alicia. I can't remember her last name. Brandy, she was in your class. They
Freshman?
make soap. I don't remember her last name, but I actually saw her at a freaking she had a booth. She makes soap, candles, and whatever,
Hmm.
something to make your house smell good. But the point is they're out there for sure.
And man,
1,000%.
I mean that's true. You know, I'm not saying that they are not out there, but I got a grocery shop right next to my house. I could just
Nah,
walk right over
Mister,
it.
not all. Nah, come on now. The whole
I'm
last
I'm just go
broadcast,
ahead.
you were the main one. Black people just don't want to do it. They just don't want to work together.
Listen, I'm
They
playing for
say
the
that
other
this,
side right now. I'm
and
playing
now
for
Nah,
the
you
other
can't
side.
play
I
for
got a
that.
bus go down the street from my house.
I'm playing devil's advocate right now.
No, you're not playing devil's advocate because
No,
that
I am. I could
will
I
not
could
sit
literally
right
walk
there.
out my house, walk 2-3 steps. There's a Winn Dixie right there. I can get everything I need.
You can also stay in your house, go online, order it from a black-owned business, and have it mailed to your house. So you don't even have to leave the
Right,
house.
and then pay $10 for shipping. Wait
Oh,
4 to
okay, but
5,
you
however
ain't
many
paying
business
what
days to
Amazon
receive it.
charges people. You got
But
to
you
be
see,
stopped.
but do y'all
Order it
get what
in
I'm
a
Right, but
timely
going
manner.
getting at?
if you
Order it in a
preemptively
timely
act,
manner.
if you preemptively act, that shipping time won't matter. You know when you run along something, order it before it goes out. It's that simple. But
But
we be
but
so quick talking about some. Oh, I'm not spending $10 on toilet tissue, but you'll go to Publix and spend them $10 on toilet tissue when there's a Walmart right up the
because I
street.
could just will go right
So
to Publix and get it. I can
right,
just
but
go
you
right
don't.
down the street to Publix, right there, walk in there, cheap, beep, here's my money, and walk away, and that's it. I don't gotta wait no 10 to 15 days and hope that they actually send it to me.
What sound it make? Ding ding.
I mean, when you cash out, the beep beep, you know what I'm saying? I hit money, get my change back, I walk out. The point I'm trying to make is that us three here, we are, I would say, yeah, I sound like a limited black mind, but there are limited black minds. I'm playing devil's advocate right now. Yeah, then these are the people that you got to think about, because it's easy for us three to sit up here far more educated, whatever our level of education is, whatever our abilities of being able to research and find things and seek out the answers that we look for. But the average black person ain't like that. The average black person ain't like none of us three or anybody else that's watching this podcast right now. They're not. And they don't got time to go trying to figure it out. They just want to walk in there and know, okay, this works, and I'm gonna just buy it. It's $2.99. Beep beep. Give me my money. I'm out.
You know what? That's interesting. That's very interesting. Not just the sound of the cash register, but it's interesting because a lot of the people I know, that a lot of the militant black people that I know that are really pro black, they ain't that educated. They're not the ones that have multiple degrees, and they're not the ones that are thinking strategically, or not strategically, but thinking on and a superior level. They're actually the ones that are just, this is what it is, this is what it needs to be, I'm doing it. I think people that are more educated are the ones that are much more hesitant in doing something because they're over analyzing stuff, they're overthinking stuff. And when you overthink stuff, you talk yourself out of it. Thank you.
It's just more convenient. It's more convenient to just go to the store and see the items there. Now, this is
So you
what
don't shop on Amazon?
I do shop on Amazon for
Okay.
things that for other things, for like equipment, for stuff that I could wait for. You know what I'm saying? But if it's toilet paper, I'm not going to buy it on Amazon. I'm going to go walk to the store and get some toilet paper,
But
because the
if
chances are,
you
what?
go
Go ahead.
ahead.
No, I
So
was, yeah, go
if
ahead.
you run out, if you so you're telling me that when you're run, so you wait until you run out of toilet paper to go get more?
No, I'll get down to about the last 2 rolls, then I go get more.
How long will it take you to run through toilet paper?
I buy a big pack. See, when I buy in bulk,
Well, I
so that
mean,
it
I say
lasts.
that because if you don't run out of toilet paper in a day, then you waiting. What I'm saying is, You can buy black and wait those 10 days to get your toilet paper if you plan accordingly, Mr. Very, very brilliant person.
I mean, I could, but once again, convenience.
How's it inconvenient to get
I said
something right when you run
convenient.
out of something?
I could just walk to the store and get it.
Okay.
So it goes back to what I'm saying. What we don't own anything. We need infrastructure. That's the first thing. If we have, what did they have back in the day that we don't have now? Black grocery stores. Everything was segregated. They had black grocery stores. You go in there and you get your black, if they had black product back then, but you go in there and get whatever. They had the black grocery store. They had the white grocery store. Maybe the black grocery store didn't look as nice. It didn't look like Publix. It probably looked more like Winn-Dixie. But you know what? It was black.
But
They
you
had the
know
black
why
laundromat.
those black stores didn't survive?
No.
Because of people like you who wanted convenience. I mean, they can't survive if nobody's shopping there. And a lot of things don't look like yesteryear. We don't have a lot of things that we used to have. There aren't people farming and having small farms at their house anymore. There aren't a lot of things. I mean, we have to roll with the punches like black people are capable of doing, like we have been doing from the very beginning.
So why is there a Brazilian grocery store? Why is there a Korean grocery store? Why is there Asian grocery store?
There's an African grocery
You know
store.
why that is? Oh, go
Why?
ahead. I'm sorry.
And they're there because the Asians, the Koreans, they keep shopping there. They drive in their car because they don't live down the street. It would be naive to think that they live next to that grocery store and that's why it's surviving. No, they get in their car and they say, we're going to get everything we can from this store, and whatever we can't, then we will go somewhere else.
They buy with the intent to support their own. They literally move to support each other. But we're too busy talking about it's not convenient.
But the infrastructure is there. That's the thing. That at the end of the
But
day,
how did they get the infrastructure?
by
They
putting the
didn't get
money
the
together
infrastructure with no
to get
money.
it.
Say again?
That's it. By putting the money together to get it.
Okay. Are you
That's
so
that. You can go to Kirkman right now. You go to Kirkman and Kirkman and 50, and they got an Asian land right there with all the supermarkets. And right across the street, the same thing. Before all of that was there was other stores there. But they came in there and said, you know what? This is nobody using this. Oh, you know what?
right.
We're gonna go ahead and buy this up. We're gonna get together and buy this up and put our Asian stores here.
So they put their money together. Well, family, usually it's a family. They put their money together to open a store, right? So with all the people all the Asians or whatever, all those people coming to purchase at that location because we want to buy the block. So let's put all our money back into our community and buy the block. That's what they're doing. This is a long comment, but I'm going to put it up anyway. Maybe the strategy should be like, instead of buying all we need from the grocery store next door, we buy certain things from Black owned businesses, like buy cereal from Harris Teeter and skincare only from Black owned sources, and stay consistent. We may need to be such subscriptions, skincare products, and businesses. That's exactly what Ashley was saying. We buy everything we can from Black owned businesses, and no, the whole production line isn't going to be Black owned. Dr. V, that it won't be completely Black owned. However, buying from a store that is owned by a Black person is a great step. So from reading that, do you think that is possible? Not, you probably will say yes, but ST3.
Do I think that buying what we need from do I think buying what we need from Black owned businesses and then buying from other sources, are you saying do I think that's possible?
Right, is that possible? And not playing like, okay, yes, go ahead, answer that question first.
Not in mass. Not in mass. Not in mass. I think you can get a group of people to do that. But in mass, no, because at the end of the day, like I said, and someone said something about average black person, but I'm going to say it again: average black person is by convenience. So I'm making their life as easy as possible. If they know Walmart, I can get all my stuff. I can get the clothes. I can get some shirts. I can get some toilet paper right here from Walmart. I can get the milk. I get everything here. We just take the whole family, the whole minivan of 6 kids and all that. Let's just go over there and go get what we need from Walmart. That's it. And then we got everything we need for the week or 2 weeks, because sometimes they be having big old buggies, 2 big buggies full, and they just come out and keep it moving. But you have to think about those people. Those people, they thrive on convenience. They thrive on making their life as easy as possible. They don't look, they're not having these conversations. And if they do, they're the most minute conversations that they possibly could have, and it's just for a while. They're not continuously having these conversations and figuring out what they can do to help their community. Most of them don't care.
You talking about black people specifically, or like
Just talking about in general, just in general.
No, I feel like Expanding Daily said, like Asian stores are not in huge supply. And I go to Asian stores because I like Asian food. So I cook Asian food. In those stores are Asian people. They be in there in numbers.
Or
Not convenient at all. Because where they're located, it isn't close to even being residential.
well,
So
that's the thing. That's that you don't know that though. And see, I was an Uber driver for a year, and you'd be surprised how many Asians live close to where they shop. You'd be surprised. You wouldn't even know they lived there.
where these stores are, the residential places are not that close.
I
It's
just told
it's
you where I told you where there's a group of stores right now, Kirkman and on 50. Kirkman and
there's
50.
also some on Mills and 50.
Yeah, there's some on Mills and 50. There's another
Right.
one right there on John Young and 50,
I'm
which
not
yeah,
I'm
they're
not
all on 50.
negating I'm not negating that. I'm not
Right.
negating pin locations. What I'm saying is that they everybody who shops there isn't in close proximity to those locations. A lot of them come from distant places to shop specifically with quote unquote their own kind, their own intragroup. And for us to not do that and label it as convenience is it's I don't know the word for it, but maybe my facial expression explains it. Because that's yeah, okay.
Well,
So
maybe
how
their group
then
doesn't.
I'm sorry?
I said maybe their group doesn't look for convenience, but ours does.
Right, but you don't think that we could change the mindset of our group?
We can try. We can try to do that.
There was a wise man that once said to try is to fail. So we can't do that. His name was Jay-Z, by the way.
I mean, if we could do it, it would already been done.
Really?
Yeah.
Your face.
I mean, look, let's go back to what 2020. But they had the blackout, and everybody posted the black picture on their Instagram. So every Tuesday,
Mhm.
everybody was supposed to put the black picture to signify the blackout. We're not supposed to buy nothing. And how long did that last? Lasted one day, one Tuesday. That lasted one good Tuesday. And personally, I tried. I tried to go multiple Tuesdays. There was a point where I was boycotting Chick-fil-A.
I still boycott Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I can't. Chicken is too good.
So you, so you gotta be stopped. You're like the wokest sleep black man I know. I mean, you gotta be stopped. I am dying listening to you talk. It's like I tried to go several Tuesdays with the blackout. Like, how was that difficult? That's a
Well,
question. How did that become difficult?
it wasn't the fact that it was difficult. It was the fact that I looked around. I'm like, oh, well, I guess this ain't gonna actually happen. What's the point? I went a few Tuesdays.
I'm a mute. I'm out.
What? So my thing, and then that's also something I wanted to point out. I'm glad you said that. Why did you stop doing the Blackout Tuesdays? Because nobody
Nobody
else
was
was
doing.
doing it.
We stopped. It was supposed to be a group
So
collective thing, and that was it. Just stopped.
so riddle me this then, Batman. If everybody had
Yeah.
continued doing it, would you have continued doing it?
I can't say if I would or not.
The answer is yes, because you said you stopped because everybody else
I
wasn't doing it.
I
So I
probably
say
wouldn't
that
have
to
because
say,
I didn't
so
feel
I
like it
say
was an
that to
effective
say,
form. I didn't feel like it
I
was
do
effective.
that to say, if we all just continue to do it, more people will join in. More people will keep going. That's what the not everybody. So let's take the boycott is the Montgomery boycott, for example. You think everybody didn't stop boycotting at the exact same time. But as it grew bigger, more people joined in, more people joined in, more people joined in. And that's what Black people need to realize. Just because everybody's not doing it all at one time does not mean that, oh, it's not effective. Or maybe because people you see aren't doing it doesn't mean others that you're missing aren't doing it, but it's touching different groups of people. It's not the best chicken. Thank you.
It's some good chicken. That's what I meant to say, not to say best chicken. If that's what you thought I said, or if that's what you heard. No, some good
What?
chicken though. It's good chicken.
We'll be talking toxic femininity shortly. Um, because you're never on here, so you must really be wanting to talk about this. Um, okay. So
Who are you referring to that's never on here?
I'm sorry.
Who's never on here that would like to talk about it?
Samuel Reed. Samuel Reed would like to talk toxic femininity. Um, so that mindset shows how limited the black people, the black mind is. But and in the same statement, it shows how unlimited the black dollar is. I'll spend. I didn't say your full name. I just said a part of your name, Samuel Lewis Reed. Um, the but it shows how unlimited the black dollar is. We'll spend for convenience, but we won't spend for in support of. So okay. Any final
That
thoughts? I'm sorry.
yeah, I said that. I mean that, and we spend selfishly. We spend we spend for our own ego,
Right.
and that's as a whole.
Agreed. Okay. Any final thoughts from the people in the comments section about the limited black mind, but the unlimited black dollar? Okay. No? Cool beans. If you would like to join our talks for the following, please do. Let's talk toxic femininity. Do you believe there's such thing as toxic masculinity?
No.
You can shake your head mute. Oh, you're gonna have to explain that one, my love. Oh,
Sorry.
this real quick, and this is our professor of history, Dr. V,
Okay,
um,
jump
Dr.
on.
Boz.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to write that down, go ahead and give that over a gander. Okay. Convenience, is a killer. Killer, willer. All
Yeah,
right.
I would love that book. Okay. I say I'm in between toxic masculinity. Um I would say I'm just in between. I don't even know how to explain that. I didn't get a chance to even read what just
I'm
popped.
sorry. That was from the last topic. That was from the last topic. He was saying the successful folks sell out. We talked about, I think we talked about that last week. So you said you're in between if there's a such thing as toxic masculinity or not. I am with ST3 on that one. I don't think there's such thing as toxic masculinity.
Yeah, no.
What do you think? While she gathers her thoughts on if it's real or not, and what's real about it, and
I,
what's false about it?
I
Well,
would say, I'm sorry. I would say yes if I had to pick one or the other, because I do think that sometimes men overly assert themselves. I think overly use their strength to get what they want, or they're like ST3 said, black people don't own anything. I think part of that is true for women in general. So being at certain jobs, I think masculinity can be used against us. Someone asked me recently, was there a lot of sexual harassment in the military towards females? I think because it's a male dominant area, that there is, and that can be used against us. I mean, it was a lot of, like, I've had instances where I was written up for certain things that normally you wouldn't get written up for, but because that person had a desire for you, they use that in, in their own way. I think that, and also now the definition of a man has changed, and I think that I'm reading a book, so so this is like their viewpoint kind of mixing with my viewpoint, but how men are confused as to what their roles are, so it comes off in an aggressive way. And so the end, put a period there.
You should put a period there. Um, would that not be called abuse of power? I don't think it's necessarily toxic masculinity. It's just abuse. It's abuse of power. Um, okay.
well, to piggyback off expanded Daly's point with the whole men over asserting themselves, and I've noticed that, and even in my own personal life, where um you're over exerting yourself because the thing that you should be just over is already trying to be over you. You get what I'm saying? And so it comes to a point where the women now have gotten to a place, and we've allowed this as men and as a society, a place where they're out of their place. And so now you have men who feel like they need to overexert themselves. They have to overdo it because we've allowed women to get in a place that they should not be in. And call it what you want. You can call it toxic masculinity, you can call it misogyny, but men and women are not equal. Men, we can take it to the divine order of what things should be. There's God, there's man, and there's woman. When God created the first being, it was a man, not a woman. God took woman from man. But in this society, we love things that are so backwards and out of order that now what we've allowed to happen is to put women above men. So now men are feeling as though they have to overcompensate and assert themselves in the position. But at the end of the day, who's stronger physically?
First of all, I done laid out a few of y'all, so that's not even a question. You know what I'm saying? Let's.
Well, that goes to the point of that, men, they're these days, men are not men. That's a whole nother topic. Men these days are
Now
not
I laid out
men.
some men that were men. They just
There,
didn't
there
know
are there are
the
men
best
that
to
are
lay them
men, but there's
outside.
there's a huge percentage. If you were able to lay them out, then they ain't a man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you were able to lay
Wow.
them out, they ain't a man.
So if I'm wrestling with a dude, and I'm gonna get to these top comments that Sam has been putting up here, but so if so if so if I were in the ring, so if Layla Ali was in the ring with Floyd Mayweather and she won the boxing match, are you saying Floyd isn't a man because he lost to her?
If Layla Ali fought Floyd Mayweather,
Hmm.
and you're saying if Floyd lost to Layla Ali,
Hmm. I just
well,
want to see where the level of man is, because just because a woman can lay you out doesn't make you not a man. It just makes you not a good fighter.
It doesn't even make you not a good fighter. It just makes you not as good of a fighter as that person.
That's that
Right.
person.
Because
But
if
you
you
got
were in
Layla
the
Ali is how big compared to Floyd
Okay,
Mayweather?
you know what I mean,
You,
though. Fine, Layla
you,
Ali and Muhammad Ali, whatever, however you want to work it out.
or just you and ST3 and Layla. Who cares her height? You just said if a woman can lay you out, you're not a man. You didn't put in any facts about her height, her strength, none of that. The thing is, I think that's the interesting comment. But anyway,
Okay. Um, so let me go to some of these comments that we'll start with the first one. Okay, it says, okay, controversial here. The only thing I know I can think of is a woman not accepting transgender women as women, expecting a trans woman as a woman does not affect um naturally born women. I'm cis. I don't know if anybody understands what cis women are, but naturally born women. Toxic masculinity. There's a lot, but no guys ever say trans men are not men. I know a lot of men that say trans men are not
who
men.
said that?
Samuel, Sam.
Can Sam just hit the link so we can
Oh
just hear
yeah, Sam, hit the link and join the live. Hit the pinned link and join. I don't know if he's going to.
I think that maybe I didn't understand that comment. So he's saying that women who were born women are not accepting men who say that they're women,
Correct, and that is I'm believing that he's saying that is toxic femininity.
but men are accepting women who are saying that they're men.
Right.
I think it's the opposite. I think women are more accepting. I mean, I don't know
yeah.
statistics on that, but I think women are more accepting of a person's personal desires than a man is. I think that. Oh yeah, I think I don't know. I disagree with that. I don't know the statistics on it, but I disagree with that.
SC3, you're gonna say something?
No, I said yeah. I agree with what Ashley said. That it's the opposite. It's the opposite.
He also said, wait, okay, here we go. He also said toxic masculinity, though it is taught by parents, are that they are kings when most are simply not masculine. Muscles does not make you a man. Abs does not make you a man. A peen does not make you a man. It's a body part. I'm
Body
going
part
to.
that's associated with a man.
I'm going to have to agree with that.
And you see
It's
that's
a
the
body part.
thing. I mean,
It's a
and not
natural
to get
body part.
too deep into this, but it's the backwards thinking of this society. It's like let's take what was made, what it was supposed to be, and let's flip it into our own understanding. And it's sitting here, everybody's looking like Ashley with just this all day, every day, because everybody wants to flip their own little thing into how they want it to fit into their own little box. It don't work that way.
Hey.
Hi,
Whatever you believe
Sam.
in at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So Sam is the black box down there in that corner over
Sorry,
there.
I'm outside.
No worries.
Um,
Um,
uh, Sorry, can I go back to like the first thing? So what I was explaining, I watch all these TikTok lives of trans women, or yeah, trans women who are constantly trying to get like the conversation going, trying to educate more people. And so many women are just like, you're not, you have to have um like ovaries and you have to be able to give birth to be a woman. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just I feel like it shouldn't bother anyone, if that makes any sense.
Okay, I think that as a woman, born a woman, I think that there are lines in the sand for me.
Hmm.
I I believe that I cannot identify with a white female. We're both female. Our experiences are totally different.
Yeah, of
And I
course.
think that's what women like myself are speaking to. Okay, he identifies as a woman. Okay, great. But that does not make you a woman in experience, though. I think that that's where the line is drawn. As
Mhm.
a female business owner, I feel like that's kind of a dangerous situation for me, because
Mhm.
if whomever has the option to identify any however they want, then those things that are in place for women who were born women to be treated on an equal playing field as men, that becomes skewed as well. So it's not accepting what someone else would like to do. It's how does that affect what I'm trying to do. As long as, in my opinion, I believe everyone do whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
I love, and I couldn't care less, not in a negative way, but I feel like you do what you want to do. But
Mhm.
when it starts to change my life, I think that that's where the hesitation for me comes in. It's not I'm going to mistreat anybody, I'm going to look at them differently, because I'm not. But
Mhm.
I cannot say I can identify with the male experience, because I cannot.
Right.
Biologically, I can't. Mentally, I can't. Those mental processes, those hormones are going to be the same for that person, even if they identify as a woman. That doesn't change their biological makeup. It's more than just a body part.
And I want to add to that, as an athlete, former athlete, um, I don't feel like I, as a woman, and this goes to Stetson's point, I don't believe as a woman I should be wrestling somebody with so much testosterone in their person. Even if
Mhm.
that testosterone is muted to some degree, it's still there. And my estrogen is not going to overpower his testosterone or that person's testosterone. And another thing is this comment, like, now we've been subjugated to being called bleeders and uh uh birthing
Fetus.
persons, and like, I feel like you're taking something that is so valuable to life
Mhm.
and making it insignificant so that other people aren't offended. Who cares if we are?
Mhm.
I don't feel like
Well,
I should be in a boxing ring with a dude with someone that has more testosterone than I do. And
Yeah.
then
well, but
you belittle me for feeling, or you try to make me feel bad for feeling that I know for a fact that I'm not going to slam a ball over this person who is 6'5" and I'm standing here 5'8".
Mm.
Like, let's look at it from a real standpoint. And like she said, it's not just body parts. It's things within these body parts that make up my who I am mentally, emotionally, structurally, physically. Like, all of those things determine what I can do with this person. And to be legit, if you want to have a period, go for it. Trust me, they are not all they're cracked up to be. It's not enjoyable. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want that one bit. But let's take it even deeper. It's going and saying that whatever you believe in, at the end of the day, there's a creator of this universe. Whatever you want to believe in, whatever you choose to believe in, that's you. You have your free will to do that. But at
Mm.
the end of the day, there is a creator of the universe. And what you're basically saying is the creator of the universe did not do a good job, did not do what they meant to do, what they intended to do by putting all these ideas out there. And that, I agree with Ashley's point when she says, you know what, do what you want to do. I'm in the same place. I'm like, do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, whatever you believe in, you're gonna have to answer to somebody. You're gonna
Mhm.
have to, let me not say somebody, you're gonna have to answer to the creator. And
Mhm.
there you're gonna have to answer, and you be able to give a good response as to why you believe what you believe when he clearly laid out what you should believe. And
Mhm.
that's my point on that.
Um.
Um. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah. I was Catholic for the first 25 years of my life, and I went to private
I'm sorry.
school. No, it's no, it's okay. Um. I don't know. I don't. I know. I mean, I can't recite anything from the Bible because it's been decades since I've read it. But I don't know. I don't feel like God would write all of that in the Bible, and everyone can be like, "Oh, but he did." But I don't know. The God that I look up to is accepting and not like judging. Not saying that you guys are judging, but just I don't know. I don't feel like that's how God is.
Well, make no misunderstanding about that. It's not to say that God doesn't love you. Nobody, and if anybody ever says that, that's a
Hmm.
complete lie. You know what I'm saying? God loves every person that He created. He had a
Hmm.
part in creating you. He had a part in knowing where your journey was going to lead to and where it's going to go. And sometimes we get off of our journeys. We decide, and that's the point of free will. We have the decision to make our own choice, the which way we want to go. You got God's way, and you got your way. And
Hmm.
sometimes, and you'll notice a lot of times in life, if you actually pay attention to your life, that your way isn't always the right way, and you somehow get rerouted back to that way. But then you
Hmm.
could decide if you want to take the other path and keep going that way and just completely veer off. But either way, there you get that choice. So if anybody ever says, and I've never said this to anybody from in that frame of thinking, that is just a complete lie. I'm not gonna say God doesn't love you. You are His child. You are someone that He created. He knows you in and out. But just like every parent who creates a child, you have a way that you want them to go,
Right.
and you have
Hmm.
a way that they're gonna go. And most of the time, the way that they're going isn't always the right way, and they're going to keep going on that way, and they got to make their own choice, but you're going to have to answer for that regardless. So if your parents say don't do a certain thing, if don't go here or you might end up in jail, you go end up in jail. Now you're going to have to answer for your crime. You're going to have to answer for
Right.
whatever decision you made. That there's
Hmm.
consequences to that. So at the end of the day, yes, the God is loving. God is a loving God, but God is a just God as well.
Hmm.
And we got to remember that. I think we fail to
And
realize the both sides of that.
and and also God is a parent. Like God is a father. So he's going to discipline when we disobey and he's going to reward when we do.
Hmm.
So
I,
those choices, what he said, your choice, our choice, my choice is ultimately, and my blessing or discipline is ultimately on me.
Hmm.
And I can't take and I can't take a part of what the Bible says and hold on to that part and leave the rest. I have to consider all of what it says.
All of
I
it.
have to utilize all of what it says,
I
Hmm.
think that
even if
this
some
is
of it I don't want it to be.
I think that Bible and sexuality is always a hot topic, because it appears that one group is damning another group to hell.
Hmm.
Um, and I think as a parent, I talk to my girls, because we have to have these conversations. They're 10, 11, 12, and 13. It's
Hmm.
in front of them all day long. One thing that I wish was said more is that wrong is wrong, no matter what the wrong is.
Right.
That
Right.
there are
Sin is a
things
sin is a
I'm
sin is a
doing
sin.
that I'm doing that I know doesn't line up with the Bible that I read. And I think that is no I think that as humans, we've put things on a hierarchy. Oh, what you're doing is super wrong, and what I'm doing is just
Mhm.
a little bit. But in the eyesight
No.
of God, it's all the same degree, and we
A
have to
sin is a
recognize
sin is a
that.
sin is a
So
sin.
if what
Yeah.
I'm doing, and I know some of my Christian people are not going to want to accept hear this, but what I'm doing, if I'm telling someone who is homosexual or whatever, you're going to hell, then the reality is so am I, because I'm doing
Right.
something wrong. And I think we have to be very careful how we're saying, how we're speaking for God, how we're representing God. No
Hmm.
one knows. No one really knows. And we
But
speak the scripture, we try our best or whatever. No one really knows how God is going to play this out. We can
Hmm.
say we have a great idea, and oh, these people going to hell, and these people not, whatever, whatever. I believe more people are on a. I think grace is pretty sufficient. I don't know how it's gonna play out, but I don't see God. I don't see how I can say, "Oh, I'm going to heaven," but my cousin or whoever that is homosexual is going to hell. I can't verbally say that because I don't believe that. And for
Well,
me, and I do want to say back to the original question about women not accepting trans women. I think that for me across the board is anything. I don't care what my neighbor is doing sexually inside their bedroom, inside their home. Now, if you bring it outside your home and I can see you, then I care. I don't care what you're doing, what you're consuming in your body, but if what you're consuming in your body causes you to come into my home and steal from me, then I
Mm,
care. So I think that the issue is that when it's told to me that now I have to think a certain way or receive it a certain way, that's where I have the issue. And it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what it is. I didn't get a COVID shot because it was mandated. I just have an issue with you telling me what to do and
mhm,
not giving me the choice to do what I want to do. I am Ashley. This is my body. This is the way that I think, and I'm for that all across the board. If someone says, "Hey, I want to not have a penis tomorrow," that's your body. I have nothing to do with that. So
mhm,
but when it's put on me that I have to respond a certain way to
Or
what
accept
someone
a
else
certain
is doing,
thing.
then that's where even if it's accepting or not accepting, when it's
Mhm.
put on me that now I have to do it or I'm labeled a certain way, that's where I have the issue.
mhm,
And another thing, like we're both actors, so for me, I feel like it should definitely go both ways. Like I will not take a gay role because there's gay people out there that can fill that role. Like
mm,
why are you taking from the gay community when you have plenty of them?
yeah,
Or I won't play a man because I'm not a man. There's plenty of men out there that can play that role. And
mhm,
I think that's another thing that causes issue. Like this group is taking from another group who is marginalized and isn't getting that much work anyway, and that's causing a grift. Also, continue, have to walk away for a second, but I'm listening.
well, I don't know if somebody had anything to add to that, but I have something. I don't want to cut anybody off. If you, well, I'll say this. Ashley, we kind of do know how it's going to play out. Maybe not the exact scene by scene, but it says it right there. It's like, if you got a choice, you use your choice to accept my son and confess that he is your savior, accept him into your heart, and you'll have eternal life. That's exactly what. So it's if you don't do that, then you kind of already know where you're going. It's
mm,
But
clear as day. Like either
no,
you do it or you don't.
I think that there are people who have accepted, who have an understanding that God is God and that He has a Son who has died. I think there are a lot of people who are aware and they understand and they accept that. But there are also people that struggle with certain things. And I don't believe that God, if I'm struggling with something, I don't believe that God is going to punish me for actively struggling with it. Now, if I lay down in it, I'm like, you know what? I'm just doing this and whatever. I think that that's different. But there are people who don't want to be addicted to drugs. They don't want to do it, but their body, they consumed a thing that has taken over them. There are people who don't want to drink. There are people who don't want to be uh homosexual. There are some people who are struggling with those things, or a liar. Some people lie and they can't stop lying. Some people steal compulsively. I had a shopping addiction. I had a real live shopping addiction. True
Black
story.
shopping addiction.
Huh?
No, you
Black
see.
black shop.
You're so funny. But no, I had a shopping addiction. Any form of addiction is wrong. And I struggled with that. I don't think God was gonna damn me to hell for a struggle. That's just
Well,
me.
well, the thing about that is you got to remember that God is the creator, so He knows you're struggling with it, and you got to also remember, even when you pray for this thing to be removed from you, yeah, but you know what the Bible says: you cast one demon, 10 more gonna come. You cast out those 10, 100 more gonna come. So God already knows that, and so we live in a world of sin. He knows that we're not perfect, and I had to come to that own realization myself with some of the struggles I have. But what I do realize and I remember with the word is, as long as I accept Jesus into my heart and know that He's my savior, and I pray and I ask God for forgiveness and I talk to God about these things, then God will continue to work with me actively so that these things don't hinder me as much. They're not to say I'm not going to fall, but you got to get back up.
So that proves my point. We don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
Because if he's a God that knows that we live with struggles and he knows our limitations in humanity, our desire is to please the flesh. We can never escape that. Paul said, when I desire to do good, evil is always present. He says,
Of
when
course.
I do the things for God, my flesh isn't happy. When I do the things for my flesh, God isn't happy, or my spirit isn't happy. It's struggle across the board. The problem is that we as humans have placed it in a certain hierarchy. People would say, oh, you're not going to go to hell for an addiction to shopping. It's just shopping, but it's an
An addiction.
addiction.
Right.
So we said, oh, it's just this, oh, it's just that, and look what they're doing. Oh, he's dressed like a man. He definitely going to hell. I mean, or he's dressed like a woman. He's definitely going to hell. I believe we have to be very careful saying those things. And as believers, when we say those things, we're drawing that person even further away from the God that we claim to know and that we claim to love when we're making those kind of harsh, factual statements. But we are not God. We don't know
But
how it's play out.
you
We
you,
don't.
you can't say you don't know how it's going to play out when it clearly says accept Jesus into your heart and you have eternal life.
So who's
That's
to say that trans woman hasn't done that?
Two things. You can you can accept Jesus into your heart, but the backslider is not. If you backslide and if you blaspheme, you're not you're in sin. But two things. The first thing, God said, "With loving kindness have I drawn thee." So if we're pointing out everybody who's going to hell, even though we don't know who's going to hell, that's not love and that's not kindness. So
Of
we're not
course
going to
not.
draw anything to God. The second thing is, biblically it says, don't be caught in your sin. Don't die in your sin. Like when God comes back, don't come. If he comes back in your while you're in your sin, I'm not gonna say you going to hell, but how I interpret it, you ain't going to heaven. Right? So even if you're struggling in your whatever it is, if you haven't repented, asked forgiveness, and changed your ways, you're caught in your sin. You're in sin, and God is coming back for a clean, blemish-free people. Now, I do feel God, His grace, God has mercy, so He's going to work with you so that you can get out, so that I can let me talk about me, so that I can get out of the sin that I'm doing. He's going to work with Brandy because He knows Brandy doesn't want to continue being in this lifestyle. However, God knows me, and if I'm not going to get out of that lifestyle, He isn't going to let me live past the end days so that I get out of it. That's on me to actually listen and do what He says and follow his will for my life. Or I can follow my own, like Stolson said, I can follow my own and be with a different kind of in a different kind of place.
Digger
Go ahead,
had something to say. I want to, yeah.
I just want to say this. I'm just listening, but the Bible also states, "For him that knows to do good and does not do it, it is a sin." Yes, the Bible does state that for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. But if we know that we're doing something that is not pleasing to God, it is a sin. And if we continue to do that, the Bible plainly states, does grace abound? Will we continue to do what we're doing? Think grace is gonna cover us? No. He said, I will turn you over to a reprobated mind. And understand what a reprobated mind is. You're basically you're lost. And I heard someone say blaspheme. Listen, the Bible plainly says blaspheming, there's no forgiveness for blaspheming.
Right. I should use that as an
None
example. Okay,
at
wait.
all.
Before you talk,
Go ahead.
two more comments on the subject, then we're going to get back to the toxic femininity. Okay, and go.
I because I cannot stress enough that I feel, and I'm going to use this word, y'all, the hypocrisy of some believers, some Christians. For us to say to know better, if you know better, you got to do better, and woe unto them who know good but chooses not to do it. We could quote scripture all day, but these same people are fornicating, and they get up like ain't nothing going on because especially Americans, we're comparing our good to one another. As long as I'm not as bad as you, I'm all right. As long as I didn't fornicate with somebody from the same sex, I'm okay. It's still wrong. So unless you're walking this straight line and all of that, we have no place to say this person is wrong versus this person. Whether I agree with the lifestyle or not, whether I agree with the thief down the street or not, who gives a flying flip? All I can do is my best, and I know because the Bible also says that men will fool them own selves. You will deceive your own self. If you keep a righteous mindset and keep thinking you're better than somebody else, you're gonna believe that everything you're doing is good. And when God cracked the sky, I'm gonna be ascending to heaven. I am very conscious of what I do. And I know there are things that Ashley does that God turns his face and he's like, that ain't it. And if I'm doing things that are not it, I'll be doggone if I'm gonna sit there and damn somebody else to hell. We have a lot of growth to do as individuals, and all we can do is focus on our individual growth. And I'm gonna go back to the point. Is when your focus on your individual growth impedes my focus. When what you trying to work on or do or change or whatever, if that's what you want to do with your life, do that. But don't let it involve me. Again, that's my only issue with anybody. If somebody starts saying, well, we're going to call the color black red, and Ashley, you better say it's red too. I have an issue with that. You call it red. That's fine. I don't care. But don't tell me that I now have to change my way of thinking to make someone else feel comfortable with what was already established. I'm not doing that.
My comment doesn't count as the two comments, but I will say, I don't think I agree that we can't send anyone to hell. I really don't like saying that word, but send each other to the devils, to Lucifer's home, right? However, I do believe that we can point out when somebody is wrong. However, you can't deny that you are wrong also. So I agree with that. If you're gonna point out somebody, the beam in your eye, I can't quote scripture all day. I can give a reference idea, and you find it in your mind.
The speck in your
So a
eye.
beam and spec, that whole mentality, that whole mindset. If you're gonna claim somebody else is wrong, don't forget to look at what you're doing wrong too. Because like Stelson said, a sin is a sin is a sin is a sin, and they are weighed equally.
I have a few things to say whenever you're
Okay,
done.
go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to touch up on the whole new names like birthing person. From one of my TikTok lives I watched, they explained that they're not trying to get us to change women who were born women, like their names. They're trying to make a new term for transgender men. So transgender men are women that transition to men, and they can still have babies because they still have their uterus. I think that's it.
Ovaries, fallopian, their reproductive system.
Yeah, so they can still get pregnant just because they transitioned. So they're trying to find like a term for them because they can't just be like, this woman is pregnant because their features are masculine. So I think what people get confused and mixed up about is that they don't say like, oh, this is for a specific group. It's not for the entire world to say, if that makes any sense.
It
What's wrong
does,
with?
but I was watching, and I can see where you'd say that, but I was watching something on the 106, not 106 in Park, the Breakfast Club, and Malik Yoba, I think his name is, I'm not sure. He said women that were naturally born women, and he was corrected by a few people. He was like, assigned female at birth.
Yeah, AFib.
And
Or
that was for
Assigned
that
by
was the
who?
umbrella of all women. Like, you are not a natural. I am not a naturally born woman. I am just a woman that was assigned female at birth.
mm-hmm.
Who assigned him?
I think
That's the question. That's the question he's asked. Who assigned him?
I Okay, Sam, my
Yeah.
issue is that uh, again, I don't I change whatever if
Mhm.
Mhm.
they want to say that for a certain person. But again, now it's my identity that is being changed. So instead of a woman, is now I was assigned it at birth.
Mm.
Why do we have to change my identity of the wording for me as a woman who was born a woman, instead of just changing the identity or the wording for those who identify as something other than what they were at birth? Like, I think
Mm.
that that's where the issue comes
Yeah, yeah,
in.
yeah. I get what you're saying.
Why change everything? And if it's a woman who appears to be a man by choice and she's pregnant, why can't it just be if the pronoun she would like is he's pregnant? Why does it
Mhm.
now have to be these additional bleeder, feeder, whatever
Birthing person.
terms,
But
birthing person? Instead of, if you're saying that you're a he, go all the way. He is pregnant. Like, why is that a thing that has to be confusing or added to the scale or the list of all of the other identifiers? Just let me be woman, let me be me, let me be who I am, and change whatever it is for that individual.
mhm.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. What does it say in the Bible? We're gonna go back to the Bible. God is not the author of
I
confusion.
wanted the answer to that.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna interject and say God is not the author of confusion.
No, but I'm one of those people, and um, my other thing, and this ties into it. Um, wait, let me think. Sorry. Um,
You're one of what people? I missed something.
did I like go in and out? I don't know why my service is acting up. I don't know. I don't feel like God is perfect because I don't feel like anyone is perfect, and I feel like if he was perfect, I feel like all of us would be perfect. So, but my other thing that I was gonna say, I don't know, like I believe in God, um, but I've just gone through a lot in the past like decade. My sister was addicted to drugs, and she passed away almost 2 years ago. So I've had a lot of like fighting with myself and with God, being like, I don't know. I'm I'm getting to a point now where I'm like healing from it, but turn to spirituality instead of religion because I just feel like that's more connecting to me than believing one person that had well, yeah, that has like created all of us. And am I making any sense? You can
Oh
be
yeah.
honest.
I have a question to that. If you're saying that you believe that God is not perfect, but I believe He is perfect. I don't believe that God is a human because humans are not perfect, other
Hmm.
than Jesus Christ. But I believe that God is a perfect being, to which we do scale good, evil, right, and wrong.
Hmm.
I think that that's internally we know that what's good and what's not good. I think we've been given a moral compass enough for that.
Hmm.
We understand that murdering somebody is not good, and that's not something that we really have to fight with. But
Hmm.
my question is if you believe in God, but you also believe that He's not perfect, why believe in God? What is your desire to believe in God?
I
I
think it's years of what did you want to say, Brandy?
No, no, no. But it's the same. It's the same question. Like if you believe God isn't perfect, then why not just follow your boss, who's also imperfect? Why not believe in that person? So it's basically the same question.
You mean like why believe in God and be spiritual, or
Right. Why believe in God? Why have that belief at all if he is not perfect in your eyesight? Because why reverence a higher power that is just like you? And
um
you, when I say you, I mean just like us humans.
mhm. I mean, I don't know like the perfect answer for this, but just I feel like a lot of us can get lost. We all believe in God. We're all created from God, but I feel like we all get pulled in different directions, and some people choose not to believe in God, and because they say like when you die you become your perfect self, and then you get judged by God. And I feel like there are some people that will not ask for forgiveness and just truly aren't good people, and they are the ones that go to hell. And then they're the ones that do believe in him but got lost along the way in life due to like choices that they made. And when we die, like our true selves with believing in God come back to us, if that makes sense.
Okay, I have a question. Not to take over. I can't see you, so I'm going to assume, which is one thing they teach you in the army: never assume someone's race, gender, none of that. Even if you're looking at them, I can't see you, but I am assuming that you were born male and identify as a woman. Am I incorrect?
No, I was born male. I am a male. I'm just gay.
But you're just gay. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, because you said that some people will pass away and not ask for forgiveness. This is a very personal question I want to ask you. If
Mhm.
you were to pass away and there's a realization that God is real, would you ask for forgiveness for your current lifestyle, your decision to be gay? Do you think that that's something that you would ask for forgiveness for?
Uh, Not for being gay, because I've known since I was at least 4 or 5 that I was gay. So I chose to be myself. I didn't choose to be who I am. Well, I didn't. Let me see. Sorry, I have like auditory issues, so it takes me a little longer to come up with good sentences. But no, like I honestly believe, because I've known since I was 4 or 5 that I was gay. I didn't know the terms. No one taught it to me. I came out when I was like 12. Um, I mean, my mom and my sisters pretty much knew, because somehow I'm like 10 or 11, and I I don't know where or how, but I found out about like gay stuff on the internet, and I never knew what a history thing was. And it was my grandparents' computer. And I remember like being in the car and my mom would ask me, "Do you think you like men or guys?" And I'm just like, uh, I mean, if that's what you want to call it. Because I didn't know. I was like 12. And I didn't come out to her at that time. I was very like um, nonchalant. But then my sisters pretty much talked to me about it, and they helped me officially come out to my parents when I was about 12. So for me, I honestly like it's, and this is where I don't believe God is like this person that would write the Bible, because to me, and I've said it before, um, not on here, but I've said it before, and I feel like if the Bible was turned into a movie, like exactly what is in the Bible, I don't think anyone would be able to see it, because from what I remember, it's very like a lot of stuff in it is like graphic,
Rated R.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I mean, he, if anything, he writes a great thriller book, and I don't mean to like offend anyone if that offends anyone.
No, I think
He
that
writes a great love story. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, to say we wouldn't be able to see it, look what we see every day. I mean, it is pretty graphic.
Yeah.
The treatment of Black people, the treatment of anyone who's different from the norm. We
Hmm.
see it every day. I 1000% can watch the Bible if it was
I,
ever
I
aired in
I
its
think what it
Yeah,
really is
go
I
ahead.
don't
it's not that we could it's not that we couldn't see it, is we wouldn't want to.
Right.
And that's just as a whole, I think it's just we
know.
wouldn't want to, because then it would just shine a light on how fucked up we really are.
Yeah.
And nobody wants the light to be shined in how fucked up you really are.
Potty mouth.
Right,
Uh,
language.
if
Virgin
we
ears here.
I I don't know.
hey,
I struggled with religion, and maybe that's because I was grown up as Catholic and stuff. But
once again, sorry.
no, it's fine. That's the only thing I knew was Catholicism, and I thought, well, a lot of religions seem to frown upon homosexuality, and I don't know.
But religion also frowns upon sexual immorality, idolatry,
I feel like
murder.
if that makes any sense.
You what now? Say it one more time. I missed that.
Oh, no, I was just saying. I feel like pretty much anything is a sin unless you're like sitting and just doing nothing. Because it just seems like a lot of stuff that people do are sinful. And I think that comes from like the seven deadly sins. Because there's so much greed in the world. A lot of people are not. I'm trying to think of all the other all the other sins. Greed is like the one I can't stand. But
Envy,
I don't,
lust.
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I feel like everything is
Pride.
Gluttony,
there's
gluttony,
lust,
wrath,
and yeah, and pride,
sloth.
and I just feel like that's like every day with everyone. Not like everyone's doing all of them or any of them, but just
To
it's
some
every.
degree.
I
Well,
think that
Envy.
I
I,
think that
I,
this has become like a conversation about God in the Bible. But I think that sin being so prevalent is more that talks about more of the heart of man. And people
Hmm.
always say, well, God know my heart. Yeah, God knows your heart, and that's
He
why he
sure
doesn't want it.
does.
He
Mhm.
wants a heart like his. And I think that as a Bible believer, because that's what I am, if you look through the history of the times that the earth was destroyed or altered, because sin became not increasing in the sin, but the sin became not sin to man. When they
Yeah.
began to feel like what I'm doing isn't wrong, God is like, okay, well, there's no point to continue in this. When a majority of the people say, well, what we're doing isn't wrong anymore, then that's where there has to become there's a stopping point. And I believe that as a Bible believer, we are in that day again, because I do believe
this
that
is the
God is
final
coming
time.
again. We
Mhm.
are in that day
Amen.
again where what we're doing is not wrong. And I'm speaking for myself. I have conversations with God, and I'm like, Lord, I'm struggling to not do what I want to do, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
and to also I'm also struggling to see the things that I want to do as wrong. And the
Uh,
Bible, for people that say that the Bible is not real, we cannot negate that there's so much scripture that referenced before its time. The
Mhm.
Bible talks about catch our religion, and how people will have itching ears and they will find a church that agrees with their lifestyle. If
Mhm.
you are an adulterer, there is a pastor out there who is
Mm,
also, he is not speaking against it, making you comfortable in that church.
most of these
No matter
Instagram churches.
no matter what your sin is, you can find a church who believes in God, but they're not speaking against your particular struggle, your particular vice. And
Mhm.
so I believe that proves to me that the Bible is right. That proves to me that God is real. The Bible also says in the last day, men will become lovers of themselves. Social media has made that so. When
Come
people
on,
wake up, the first thing they do is they check how many likes they have,
come
how many
on.
comments. Everybody is a speaker, a national speaker now on social media. Everybody have their own
Everybody
platform
got cooking videos.
because
Anybody who
Everybody got the
goes
little
against
dance
you,
videos.
anybody who goes against you is wrong.
because they are lovers of themselves. The Bible also says that in the last day, knowledge will increase amongst all men. My child is 10 years old. I can ask her, how far is the moon from the sun? She doesn't know, but
Mhm.
she has a phone in her hand that will tell her. Knowledge has increased amongst all men. It's not
Mhm.
wisdom because she doesn't know how to apply it, but she can answer any question you give her. GPT chat has made that scripture a reality. Everybody knows everything now. There's nothing no one can know if they don't look it up. So we cannot negate that God is real and that God is a perfect God because it was already predestined. It was already said.
Mhm.
He is perfect in everything that he does. Just because we're imperfect doesn't make him not perfect. He knows Ashley inside and out. He knows more about Sam than Sam knows about himself.
Mhm.
We cannot negate that. There's just, but anyway, I'm
Here,
done. Love.
Um,
And so I'm gonna hit
here,
me.
here,
elaborate on
here-
this,
well,
chef.
here's something a point I want to make.
Put it
A
back up.
few
I didn't
points I
read
want to
it.
make. Here's a few points I want to make, Sam. First and foremost, Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yeah, I need further explanation on what that means. I don't know.
Bible, basic instructions
No, not
before
you. I'm talking
leaving
about the
Earth.
comment that was
That,
made.
okay.
Yeah, no, we get that.
Uh,
Yeah, what you said.
yeah. So essentially, it is a manual to teach you how to live on Earth before you leave, because we're just here to pretty much go and leave. We're not here for a long time. We're here for I won't say a good time, because that can be interpreted however, but we are here for a purpose at the end
Mhm.
of the day. And the Bible is a basic instructions. It's a manual of teaching you how to live on this earth before you leave it, by
Mhm.
different stories, by different people who've tried before you, either failed in certain areas or succeeded. There's a story for everybody. There's a story for someone who lust. There's a story for someone adultery. There's some person who's murdering people. Paul, before he was Paul, he was Saul. He was sitting there murdering people, killing people.
I think the
Watch you.
Bible. I don't know if it's I think people use that basic instruction before leaving Earth. Okay, that sounds good, but I think that it's more a goal to strive to, because I believe, I don't feel like God knew. I mean, I feel like God knows that Ashley's not going to be perfect. She's not going to follow everything, but I do feel like it's something to strive for. It's like when you start a new job, they give you orientation. Well, this is what we want you to do. They know you're not going to do everything, but this is what we want you to do. You get a new
Read the
car.
manual and you'll know how to be a good employee.
Right, but you get a new car. They give you a manual on how to the best keep of that car. That's not, you're
Right.
not gonna do everything.
You don't read it though. And and then what happens with your car?
Actually, I do have my manual, and I'm actually
But
going through it. Thank you very much. I am
but,
one
but
of
what
those.
happens when you don't read the manual on the car? You don't know how to do something, right? You don't know how to press the
So,
button to program it to your Bluetooth, right? You got to figure it out. But if you read the manual from the beginning to end, you're gonna know how your car works in and out. You're gonna know the
That
gas
doesn't mean
mileage.
you're gonna apply
You're
it.
gonna know
But
how
that
what
doesn't mean
oil
you're
to
gonna
put in
apply
there.
it.
I agree with that. Just because you read
You're
something
not
doesn't
gonna
mean you
apply
know
it.
how to do it. Like you can tell me, I can read a manual on how to change a transmission. That does not mean I'm gonna know how to do it. And I'm not going to know how to do it exactly as it says in the manual. Now I can tinker with it, and it take me 40 years to get through this wilderness, and eventually I might get it right. But I might not be doing it perfectly the first time. I can check my oil perfectly the first time, but yeah, changing that transmission, it ain't gonna happen.
No, your manual might not teach you how to change the transmission.
And I believe the Bible
That's why
is
it's
it's
why it's
not
basic.
instruction before leaving earth. I feel like the Bible is a guide on how to escape death or hell,
What's the
whatever you want.
difference? What's the
Because I
difference in
don't
what I
think
just said?
it's not. I feel like how you said it. You have to do this, perfect, 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 perfect.
No, no, it's not
The
about being
Bible, I
perfect.
feel like, is telling
No,
you that this is
it's
what you're supposed to
instructions.
do.
Right.
Do what you have to do to get what you can correctly. God gave us the will, gave us a choice. He knows, like I said before, like I said in the video that I have not posted, this is a movie. Life is a movie. God
Mm-hmm.
already wrote it. We're just the actors that he chose for this specific role. I was chosen for this role of Brandy. Like you don't think God wrote out everything? Oh, he doesn't. So you don't think he knows your beginning and your end and your in between?
I don't agree with that. I don't think that God chose me to play this role out, because then that will also mean the Bible is a God unto tomorrow. Then that will also mean
All in the same. Same.
that if I go to hell, that God chose me to go to hell. I don't agree with that. I believe that the Bible says that God is the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I believe He allows us to be our own middle, to make our own choices, but He just knows the choices that Ashley is going to make. He
So if he
didn't.
knows the choices that Ashley's going to make, he doesn't know the final end of Ashley.
Right. I believe that He know. I don't. You said that God chose me to play this role. God didn't choose me to play no role. God did not choose me to be a mother of four, divorced and whatever. My actions caused my divorce. The action between him and myself caused my divorce. God didn't do that. I think we have to be very careful with wording, because it sounds like God puts us in certain positions. Oh, God made me a murderer, or God made my mama die at this age. No, He didn't do that. Our lifestyle, I heard a pastor say, keep chomping on the fat, but reminiscing how you were thin back in the day. You can't eat everything you want and then expect to be thin. You can't live any lifestyle you want and expect to live forever. Our choices, and my mom even said that if you know you can't swim, why are you in a canoe in the middle of the lake? So if you drown, that was your fault. You knew you couldn't swim. It wasn't God that was your time to go. You choose your middles, and God just already knows the choices we're gonna make. I could tell you out of my four children which one would do the action, based on me knowing their personalities. I could tell you which one is most likely to take the piece of candy off the counter after I told him not to do it. God just knows our middle. We get to decide that.
I feel like that's what I feel like that's exactly what I'm saying. Like
It didn't sound.
as actors, we decide how we're going to play the role. The lines are written, but we decide how we're going to emote, how we're going to move. The director, God, isn't puppeteering us. We know what we're going to do. The director's read the script though. He knows what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. I'm not saying God, I don't know how to explain this besides what I said already.
But I don't think that's a good analogy. I don't think that you mean what you're saying, but even even what you're saying, that's not a good comparison to how God is with us. Because if you're an actress or an actor, they're giving you your lines, they're telling you, for the most part, where to stand, how you're interacting. Because I've seen scripts, enter stage left, or or play or whatever. You're going to tip your hat. Yeah, they let you have your personality here and there, but it's very structured in that, from what I understand, and so maybe because I'm limited in knowledge, I guess it doesn't make sense to me. But I think for the most part, when you take a role, you're kind of that character
I
for the.
I would
Let me
say
add this
that
real quick.
I think it's
Hold on, let me add
more.
something real quick. So you're saying that when you got pregnant the first time, your God was like, you got pregnant, and God was like, oh shoot, I gotta make a Kennedy. Let me
No,
throw her
that,
out there. He so she was already planned before consummate you conception.
no, I believe that God was aware that this was going to happen. I believe that God is always aware of what's going to happen, but I don't think that it's scripted. I don't think that it was, okay, Ashley, now go have sex with him and you're going to make her. No, Ashley wanted to have sex that day. So that's what Ashley
As
did.
a result of it.
Um,
And
I
she
Right. I'm
But
not saying because he gave us free will. So of course we get to make our own decisions. What I'm saying is God knows. God knows. He
I would
there's
say this.
nothing that's going to
Let
surprise him
me
at what we
I
do.
will combine them two together. I think it's more or less like one of those books where it's like choose your own story, like
I
choose your
love
own
those
path books.
books.
It's like, all right, you're reading the page, and like, all right, you get to a point in life. God knows the points you're gonna get to in life. Let's say that. God knows the points you're gonna get to. Now you have a choice. There are pivotal points that will change the course of your life. And every stop you get to, you have a choice to make on which route you're going to go. And which route you're going to go is the route this is going to play out. That's it. But that's not to say that God don't know both sides of it. He's giving you the choice. Now, okay, we've gotten to this point, and here we are. Here's the fork in the road. You're going to decide to go this way or that way. Here's my will for you. You go this way, and this is what's going to happen. But if you go that way, then yeah, this not gonna happen. That's
Right.
that's so, and now that's the part of free will. The free will part comes in. You decide which route you want to go. If you're following God's will, you're gonna follow God's route. So to take the conception example, it's all right. We got to a point. Ashley discovered sex. Here's this guy you discover sex with, and here's the potential of you getting pregnant. Are you going to do it without, are you going to do it at all and take my will? Or are you going to go this way and not take my will? Either way you go, there is going to be a consequence to that. And consequences aren't necessarily a bad thing, because people like to look at consequences as just, oh, it's bad. But for whatever action, there is a reaction. So whatever you do, whatever choice you decide to make, there is going to be a reaction to that choice. So if you decide, all right, I'm going to have unprotected sex, then the reaction to that is, all right, you might get pregnant. And in some cases, that's what happens. You get pregnant. Now but God knows that. He knows you get to the fork in the road, and there's the two choices, and he knows where it's going to lead you. But that's it goes to the point that I made earlier. We get off path, but you're going to always get back to that fork in the road again at some point where you have another choice to make. Either you're going to make that right choice and follow God's will, or you're going to continue to keep going down the other way. And the more you continue going the other way, the more destruction your life is going to lead to, because you're not following God's will. God's will at the end of the day is going to lead you to less confusion, because like I said before, God is not the author of confusion.
And just like
so he's going to make. What's that?
I'm sorry, just like those books. No matter which choice you choose, you're going to end up in the same place.
You're gonna end at the end of the day. You're gonna end up at you're gonna go through some crap. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My life everybody's life is an example of that. Of when you decide to make your own path and go your own way. All right, go ahead. Yeah, let's see how that works out. And we got friends to do it. You're like, hey man, I don't think you should mess with that person. And not knowing the whole time that's God working through us so that we can keep that person from going the other way. But they did, I'm gonna go this way. And then you just sit there like, man, I knew you should have done that. And we get into that judgment space, not realizing that was God using you as a vessel to prevent that person from making we are all connected in that sense. So that is, I would say that is the more correct way to say it, that it is more in that sense. We have the choice at the end of the day. So even with you, Sam, you have the choice to you get to a point in your life. You mentioned earlier your sister, she had an issue with drug abuse, and she passed away, and that was a fork in the road for you. You had a choice to, okay, I'm gonna let this take me this way, or I'm gonna let it take me that way. And you made whatever choice you made at the end of the day. That doesn't mean God doesn't love you, not going to try to get you back. You're back here now today having this conversation with us on this live. So God, that is God actively working in. We weren't even supposed to go in this direction, but you know what? I love it because God uses the people that He's going to use, no matter how destructive, no matter how much of a murder you are, no matter how gay you might think you are, no matter if you transition to one sex or the other sex. We all are connected. God is going to use every last one of us to get what He needs done at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, what He needs done is to have as many lives saved.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sam, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you guys believe in spirit guides? I don't know if that's more spiritual than religion, like believing in God. But do you guys like believe in like spirit guides? They're kind of like, I guess you would say like angels, but we're all like assigned guides, and you can say that it's like your,
God is that God.
I do.
but you do.
I believe that I believe that God, I dispatch my angel all the time. I dispatch my angel when I'm about to go get a new client, go prepare a place for me, let this be received well. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that then the Bible speaks about that there are archangels
Mm-hmm.
that defend and protect, and that, yeah, I believe in that 100%. And I dispatch my angel all the time.
Do you mean a spirit that guides you throughout your day, or do you mean a spirit that you dispatch to go before you?
It could be all of the above. Um,
Well, here's
Then
the thing.
yes, for me, because I believe God is my spirit guide.
Here's the thing.
well, I
When
like
God,
God. Sorry.
Hmm?
well, what I was gonna say, when God created you, He created you in His image, right? And so, if He
Mm-hmm.
created you in His image, that means part of you has God in you.
Mm-hmm.
So, follow me here. And somebody put this to me the most. I went to a therapy session one time. I went to therapy one good time, and she was talking to me, and she was like, we all have these inner guiding systems. And I'm just like, inner guiding system? Why does that sound like God? She was like, yeah. And once she told me that, I said, I don't need no therapy.
Oh
I'm
Lord.
good.
Oh
I don't need
gosh.
no therapy.
You still
You
need
need
therapy,
therapy,
sir.
brother.
You
No,
still need
no,
therapy.
no. I
Yes,
said, I
you
don't need no
do.
therapy. If you could sit there and tell me that we all have inner guidance systems, and I said, is that God? You say, yeah, okay, then there it is. Literally.
No, you go to therapy.
You took
Uh,
what that one person said and you ran all the way to the bank
Because
with it.
that's what you wanted to
Sir,
hear, so you
you
didn't have
need,
to go to
sir,
therapy.
no,
sir,
no, no. It's
sir.
not what I wanted to hear. It's what God needed me to hear.
Sam, what do you think that we have spiritual guide?
I didn't even finish my point.
Oh, because
Oh, because I
Toxic
I was
femininity
hoping,
working. Toxic femininity working. There we go.
it was done. Shoot, I'd be
um,
toxic.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
I'm very spiritual, so I believe in spirit guides. And I was just thinking, I'm like, maybe God is talking to the spirit guides, telling them, and maybe we have like different kinds of spirit guides. Obviously, ones that are going to try and point us the correct way, and then one that is trying to get us to go the other way.
that's the spirit in the
And
flesh.
that's where, do you want?
right.
Sorry, Brandy, what'd you say?
Uh,
I said that's the spirit in the flesh. The spirit is going to guide you one way. The flesh is going to try to lead you another.
Okay.
well,
Yeah.
But
but
that's
back.
my belief. That's how I
Well,
believe.
no, no,
I'm
that's
not trying
true.
to force my belief on you, but that's what I believe.
That's absolutely true. And to
Because
go
you know
back
I
to
don't
the
be
point I was
forcing nothing.
trying to make, we all have this. We all have God in us, and God is actively all the time saying, "Oh, we shouldn't go that way." You ever get that feeling like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have gone there," and then you go, and then you realize later on, it's like, you know what? I knew I shouldn't have done that. I
Mhm.
knew I shouldn't have gone there. I knew I shouldn't have called that person. That was God the whole time telling you not to do that thing, and you just ignored that. That's the spirit right there grabbing at you, telling you, do not do it. Don't go that way. Don't go that way. Don't go that route. Don't do that thing. Don't talk to that person.
Mhm.
And toxic femininity. Okay, let's
Okay.
talk toxic femininity, shall
I'm
we?
watching you guys, but I have to get off. I'm
Okay.
into stuff. But I had fun talking
Good
to you
conversation.
guys.
Yeah, good
See
Hopefully,
conversation.
Well,
see.
talk to you guys
All
later.
right. So let's talk toxic femininity. Is there such thing as toxic femininity? I don't know if I made the term up, but because I was very annoyed. And I started saying it because I was very annoyed that people kept saying toxic masculinity. I'm like, if there's toxic masculinity, there has to be toxic femininity. So why aren't we talking about that? And I decided that it's because we're in a very feministic world, or yeah, feminism, feministic, whatever world. Um, your thoughts on toxic femininity?
Yeah, most definitely. We are in a world that is extremely feminine, up and down. The hierarchy has changed, but I think more so the reason has changed. I think it's changed because men are being men. At the end of the day, we are not being men, and that's we've allowed as our. Think about it. We take it all the way back, and I love to take it all the way back to the very beginning, to the first man, Mr. Adam. Adam had a job to do as a man
He
in the
failed.
garden. He had a job to do, and what he did, he didn't do his job
He failed.
from the very beginning. So from the very beginning, men weren't being men. Yeah, one job. Be in his garden, take care of his garden, and you put her to work. What she did? Oh, this fruit here, this looks real nice. Yeah, I want to take a bite of it. Hey, you should. Oh, this serpent over here, this little thing told me I should take a bite of it. You should take a bite of it too. Okay, I guess I will. You take a bite of it. What you doing? You had one job. One job. And that's just been trickling down ever since. Men aren't being men. And it what?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm saying men aren't being men. We see it clear as day. Men are not being men. Men, and when I say men aren't being men, they're not being the man that God intended them to be.
Is it a fear of being masculine? Is it a fear of being men in today's society, or being a masculine?
Well, now,
male?
yeah, definitely now, but that's for I'll say that there for me up until this point, yeah, there was, because I was so concerned about everybody else's opinion and so concerned about what people might think. Now I don't care. I'm going to be the man that God intended me to be. So if I say things that people don't agree with, okay. But you know what? I make sure I talk to God and make sure before I say anything that what I'm saying is in line. And so, yeah, a lot of the things I'm going to say now, I've spoke to my little cousin the other day, and we had a conversation about how men should be and with women. And he's like, "Well, man, don't you think sometimes that you might be a misogynist or the toxic masculine?" And I'm like, "What?" See, all those words are created to try to keep men in a box. All those words, period. Anything with an entity, ism, is a word to keep you in a box. God don't put nobody in
Racism
no
is
box.
real. You put yourself in that box as a racist.
I mean, you
Toxic who? You had a lot. Your face said a lot. Your face was like, what is your face relaying that your mind wants it to say?
I'm just listening to my brother down there. I'm just listening. I don't even know where you got. He put her to work. What was that? That was so confusing. He put her to work.
no,
What?
I'm saying that she was supposed to be able to help me. She was supposed to be helping him. Whatever task he had to do, he's supposed to delegate and say, "Hey, I need you to do this. I got to do all these things. I got to name these animals. I got to take care of them. I got to, make sure things are right here. So I need your help to do this.
I thought
I
her
have a
job was to be
purpose.
fruitful and
At the end of the day, I have
multiply.
a purpose."
I think, sir,
What was that?
you just really Americanized that Bible in such a way
I said I
that now
Americanized it.
you're using 2023. I had to name all these animals. It was just a lot on
Well, that's the
me.
only way
I
people
had to
gonna
water these
understand it.
plants, girl.
I had to mow the whole garden. No, no, like you're doing too much with your thought processes over there.
I
But
also
With
think
cheers, woman.
ST3 doesn't represent all men in this. So I just kind of want to just say that out loud.
It's confusing. And I want to read this. It says toxic femininity. That's a word.
Right.
Is a term that has recently gained some momentum. It refers to traits, beliefs, and behaviors of women that include shaming and discourage women and others from expressing their emotions and dismissing aggression. So that's what the definition is: shaming other women from expressing emotion and dismissing aggression. Who comment on that? Who said
Oscar.
it?
Toxic femininity can also be, for me, like a lot of women say, oh, when my period comes on, my whole attitude changes and I'm getting my hormones are da, 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 da. But half of them, y'all don't even it don't even change who you are. You're just using that as an excuse to be a jerk. That's a form of toxic femininity for me. But I want to know, when I said what is toxic femininity, Chev, you said, yeah, I'm just gonna put it with white women. Can you please explain this, sir?
I got my bonnet on, so I can't come on camera today.
Ooh, let us see your bonnet.
What bonnet?
I got my bonnet on.
What bonnet?
No, ma'am.
So for me, and in my experience and in my understanding of toxic masculinity, because where there's an A, there needs to be a B, right? Every action has a reaction, and so
Use my own words against me.
what was that?
No, guys, he using my own words against me. Go ahead.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, I literally said that like not even.
Oh, I wasn't even on the stream at that time, so my bad. But I guess
Go ahead.
you know, great minds think alike.
Don't say that.
Right.
I ain't with you tonight, ST3.
Well, I also said out loud that not ST3 doesn't represent a lot of us. So I will say this: there is a reason that toxic femininity exists, and the reason that exists is because we've lived in a world of masculine energy, masculine culture, which there has to have had a reaction to something. So feminine folks, femmes, women have been on the back burner, have had not decision-making power, haven't been in culturally and historically, haven't been in a lot of places of decision-making and power. And so there has to be a reaction to that to change that concept. Now, my comment that I made earlier was that toxic masculinity is a symptom of white culture. So therefore, toxic femininity has to come from a different culture, has to stem from that culture as well. And I believe those things are systemic, right? In my experience, I've witnessed, the only times I've witnessed toxic femininity has not been in communities of color or in women of color. It has always been the adverse.
Oh, whoa, okay.
So how would you define it? How would you define
Wow.
toxic femininity? That's a word.
Wow.
Chev.
Yeah. So
toxic, and I want to know why ST3 is doing all these wows, but Chev, you can if you want to answer that question.
Yeah. So toxic masculinity, again, for those who have studied it and for those who understand the origins of it. And I'm not trying to come from an academic standpoint, but
you're doing too much.
I'm not trying to come from an academic standpoint, but it does come from the patriarchy, right? So that comes with a whole different set of subcultures and whatever the case may be. But again, I would define toxic femininity as something that comes from and stems from something systemic, from a level of superiority that someone thinks they have over someone else. And so, or they feel there is a need to express what their ideas or concerns are in a negative way that does not align with how public opinion or how the general public would react to that.
So you're basically point, saying that if a female states or has an issue with something and they say something, they're being a toxic female.
Nope.
And if a man is doing it, it's just
that is not what I'm saying.
I'm asking.
That is not what I'm saying. No, that is not what I'm saying whatsoever. I made a very explicit statement of the culture that I believe expresses toxic femininity. To say a female says that
a white
all
female.
Women, huh?
A white female. Karen expressing herself about she should be able to drive drunk because she's getting a divorce and she has to go move.
Then I would agree with that statement if you were calling it a Karen. Yes, absolutely. That is toxic femininity at its
That's not
core.
entitlement.
So I want to hit
What's the
on something.
difference, Brandy? That's that is a privileged, and that comes from a place of privilege. That also comes from a place of stereotype, that you believe that you are in superiority, that you believe you are better than. Why should I let you go away? Like, as why should I let these other drunk drivers on the road not get away with it, but why should I let you get away with it?
So okay, so and I'm sorry, ST3, real quick though. So a black woman saying that to a black man, you should have my back before you have that white woman's back. Is that not toxic femininity?
Nope, not in my opinion.
Okay.
There it is.
ST3, you're up.
Well, I want to hit on something you said about the
That's
the,
it.
the whole fact of superiority. You're saying that am I correct in saying that you're saying that men are not superior to women?
What do you mean, as a general statement?
Well, do you think men are not superior to women?
I don't understand. I asked a follow-up question. I'm asking it as a general statement, or as in
General. Are
in
men
general,
not
men? Yeah, in general, men are not superior to women. Correct.
men are not superior to women?
In general, men are not superior to women.
Really? So who's stronger out of the two?
And what time out, Ashley? Put your mute on and stop putting your hand on your head. In what aspect are we speaking of strength?
In the physical form, who's stronger
So
out of the two?
So in the physical form of giving birth, women are absolutely stronger. In the physical,
So
in the
okay,
phys- No, hold on. In the physical form of actually brain intelligence, women's brains, actually, their neurology is definitely far more than men and far superior than men. But if we're talking about muscle mass, I give it to men.
Emotional.
well,
Well, that's not physical form, but he's talking about physical.
it goes
But
back to what Ashley said earlier about knowledge is going to surpass wisdom, and that's the problem we're having right now.
no, but I'm not.
Is
I
that
didn't. But
the knowledge you're dropping a bunch of knowledge, but there's no
I didn't
wisdom in
say
that
knowledge. I said the brain. I'm talking about the neurons in the
knowledge.
brains,
But
in the
what
brain
I'm
that is actually more in women than it
I
is in
said who
men.
is physically stronger, and you brought a bunch of points about the brain. You
I
brought a
gave
point of
physical,
giving
but
birth.
I gave physical examples. You just didn't understand the physical examples
No,
that
I
I gave
understood them
because you don't
clearly.
align with them.
No, I understood them clearly.
It's
I
not
don't think
you
you
didn't
did.
understand them. I don't think you received them. I think you understood it,
He didn't
but I
understand
don't
them.
think that you received it
How
because
are
it
you to say that
wasn't.
I didn't understand it?
I think
Are
You,
it,
you in my
it wasn't.
brain now?
I mean, I believe Ashley's example of you not receiving it is a great example of you not understand. Like your brain it is
you
not on
can
the same
understand
neurons.
something but not
Yeah,
accept it.
Yeah,
I don't think he
listen. I don't
understood it.
accept it. I don't accept it.
Yeah, I just think you didn't receive. Yeah, accept
I
it.
don't accept. I received it. I understood it, but I don't accept it.
But I don't think that strength dictates hierarchy.
Superiority,
Right.
correct.
So there's a difference. Exactly. There's a difference
Who was
between
created first?
superiority and hierarchy.
The
Who was
Bible
created
says,
first?
because I love a good word.
Okay.
The Bible says when He created man, He created them, female and male. He created them. God had the knowledge that when He created Adam, Eve was always present in the mind of God. So you're going by the physical manifestation of something.
Time
But
frame.
if I'm pregnant with twins, I'm pregnant at the same time. One is going to come out before the other. That does not now make that twin the superior twin. No, you just came out first. But I think that you ST3 you use physiology a lot to say that men are more superior instead of using actual reasoning. Maybe because their logic is different. Because I believe that I'm a
Mm.
traditional person, and I would yield to the man in my house. I would allow him to lead based on his logic for my house, based on his natural instincts as a man. But it's not because he's physically stronger. I think you have like this mindset of men are better because we can box and we can hunt. And,
No,
It's
that's not it.
archaic.
That's just the most. That's just the most
It's a
simplest
very
way to put it.
archaic
Wait,
way
To
of
let me
understand it.
add to that.
It's
Let
the
me
most
add to
simplest way
that.
to put it so that it
We
can be
also
understood.
No.
have in the Bible, it says that Eve
Incorrect.
is his help meet. She's not less than, she's not greater than, but she is his help meet. I think where Stelson's mind is, and I could be wrong, I'm not like trying to jump into your head, but I think where he is determining superiority, which I think should be called hierarchy or order, is the order in which God says that we are supposed to be. You have Christ, man, woman. And I think that's where the equating of position is. And I'm cool with that position because that's the order that
I
God gave us
disagree with
being.
that. I disagree with
Um,
that because it's with that logic, Brandy, it's if we're going to order, it's God, man, woman. When Christ came, Christ took that away. Christ made things even and a level playing field across the spectrum in general.
That's
Yeah,
not what happened.
yeah.
disagree.
I
I
don't
disagree.
think
That's not
I
what happened.
disagree.
Y'all, I mean, if we want
No,
to go
that's not
into
what
the
happened.
if we want to go
Disagree.
to the if we want to go into the epistles, we can go to the epistles and we can kind of write out or unpack the letters of Paul. We can do that a little bit more too, but that actually equals and equates things a little bit. It not even a little bit. It makes a level playing field. So I disagree with that statement.
no, I
No,
don't
I
I
just
don't agree with that, Chef. But I will say that when it comes to men being stronger, I believe that only when it comes to physical makeup is a man stronger. I think a man is so fragile mentally,
Oh yes. Oh
emotionally.
yes. Oh
I
yes.
think that a woman, the ability to say, you know what,
in this day and age, yes.
I will be submissive to that man. That takes a lot of strength. A man,
Oh
if a
yes.
man cheats on her, she can forgive and she can get back in there with him. But y'all are so fragile in your ego that it's hard
Mm,
for you to let it go. I think
Yeah, this day and age, yeah.
only way that you're stronger than me is you might be able to pin me down. But one thing that I do know about myself is I'm a good shooter. So let's try that. So I feel like even that these days don't even
Toxic
matter. Your
femininity.
strength. It's not it's reality,
there
boo.
can't be toxic femininity as she is not a
Reality, boo.
white woman.
She's a shooter. I want to read the definition of superior, of higher rank, quality, or importance. So when you say hierarchy and when you say superior, they're one and the same. Words matter, people.
I would agree with him on that. And I also don't think there is
You want
a
to bring knowledge and
hierarchy.
wisdom into this.
I don't think there's a hierarchy. Well, I mean, you clearly went to Google, which everyone can do. And that was
It's knowledge, not
Okay,
wisdom.
exactly.
Everyone will have
Exactly.
knowledge.
Come on,
but
Chef.
Right,
Come on,
exactly.
Chef. Look at
I
So
mean, but with
for
that
wisdom,
being
you can't
said,
find wisdom on Google. I'm sorry.
right,
Wisdom
but
you
you
get
didn't
from
apply
God.
wisdom just then. You
right?
applied
But we were not finding wisdom in you googling
Yeah, no,
with
I
your
had to
fingers
find
as
knowledge to
well.
people who are working in knowledge. Yes.
I would like to see that in ST3.
So I mentioned, wow. So I
Right.
mentioned the different word usage to your benefit, not to mine. I understand that they're similar
Oh, no, I'm just
or could
saying.
be
Now
one and the
I'm just
same,
clearing that up.
but
Yes.
for those that were thinking superior, inferior, instead, the context in which you use it is different. So you can use inferior and superior in a sentence and change those words to hierarchy, and it'll make a difference in this in the way it's taken accepted as
I would say there's a higher. I would say the
in
better
text.
term, the more acceptable term would be hierarchy. Yeah, let's go with that
Right.
because there's a hierarchy. There's God, there's man, there's woman, there's children.
The children ain't even known that. Children, y'all ain't even known that.
Well, they they come
Y'all
last.
just there.
They
Welcome.
come after. There's the hierarchy. So we have to, whether you accept that or not, that's what it is.
I also think ST3
I like how
for arguments purposes, because
Yeah.
And this is my assumption, this is the way you show up for arguments purpose. Like I think you like to push back. I don't actually think you believe that.
no, I think he actually believes
That I
that.
don't believe what. That I don't believe what?
Just saying.
That you don't believe
That
what
there's a
I
hierarchy?
intended by that comment, because I think you know exactly what I said.
No, I think he believes. Think that he believes that. I do believe that he does the pushback for the pushback, but I don't think this is an example of that. But I think that it is always interesting to me that men who are, in my opinion, hyper masculine always quote certain things that are beneficial and support that. The set to say, oh, there's men are superior because of this, that, and the other, or whatever the case may be. I think that that's always used when someone is just hyperly masculine. Which I wait a minute, let me say this now.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
Which is something that I dig, but I feel like those kind of men are not, no, seriously, those are unfortunately the kind of men that I gravitate to, because I like leaders. I like
They're
men that
men.
I like a manly man, but they are
When did
also
you
They're
like
real
that?
men.
Men.
no, but I also think that they are so emotionally damaged and distant. They're not emotionally intelligent. And I think that they make the hardest people to get along with in a relationship. But
Mm.
and I think that, so when people use certain scriptures to support that, that kind of makes me question a little bit, because I do agree that there's a hierarchy of sorts, but not in the way that you're describing it, to where it seems like you're all the way up here and a woman is so far down here.
I never made it like that. No.
No,
I mean, I clearly said that she's a helpmate.
that's how
Oh,
I'm receiving it. That's how I'm receiving it.
well, I mean, that's fair for you to receive it like that. I mean, I can't, I can't change it for you to receive it any differently. But I will say this: you see, you said something hyper masculine, and that's another thing. The masculine frame is so weak these days that somebody like me who's just being masculine is hyper masculine.
No.
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 There's a difference.
Wrong.
There's a difference.
Right.
And
Yeah. Okay.
it's not to say
Wrong.
that everybody
Trump said
under
it best.
you is
Wrong.
weak, so that puts you at average. You are super. And again, you might need to hit a different therapist, because I think she did something. She did a work, and I mean that's the power of a good therapist. She did
I
a
got
work
God.
with
Good. I
one
got
session.
God.
She did a work. I think that you are, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you are hyper. You have a lot of masculinity, like you really do, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And
I'm
it's
not
not a bad,
But you
it's not
see,
a bad thing.
that's the thing that's so funny is like I have a lot of masculinity compared to who?
compared to most.
Well, okay then. So that goes back to my
That's the
point. The
that's
male frame is so weak that somebody like me, who is far from the hyper masculine as you are trying to frame it, is considered hyper masculine.
I think that you're the kind of guy that
I'm
if you're
just
in the
saying, I
club
think
and somebody step on
you're,
your shoe, you gonna be like, what's going on? What?
yeah.
No, that's not it at
That's
all. There's a
hyper.
lot of times I
You
turn
seem
the
like
cheek.
you're always ready for the get down. Like you, it seems like it seems
It
like
seems
even
like you're
if you
always ready to
even,
defend your masculinity.
even in bed, it seems like you'll be like, "Big, take this D, I don't care." Like you just,
No, not at all.
I mean, I like that kind of talk. Don't get me
I'm
wrong.
not gonna
But
say,
Well,
well,
but that's the thing.
I think that you'll
That's
be
the thing.
hold on. I think that you'll be so self-absorbed in your get
Oops.
off that you're not even
That is
considering.
far from the truth.
That's how it comes off. That it prove me wrong.
I
she's
mean, let's
she's
roll.
just
Hey,
saying how it
Brandy,
comes off.
Brandy,
She's not
roll
saying
the
how
tape
it
back.
is.
Roll the tape back from
That
last
is
week.
that
Roll the
is
tape back
far
from
from the
last
truth. That is far from the truth because a hyper masculine man, as you frame it, will say, "Me man, you woman, suck, and you do this. I'm done." That's not me. I'm gonna make sure I take care of you. I'll make sure you finish too. That ain't a hyper masculine man.
But you sound very caveman. You really do.
I sound very, but that's because so many men that you're around, so many men that are in society sound so weak that when it comes back to me, I sound hyper masculine, which is far from the truth. Because there are
Actually,
people
I
who
mean,
are
Let me
far
say
worse
this.
than me. There are
Let me
people that
say
I
this.
know that are far worse than me, and that's the thing.
And
doesn't
that
mean
goes
that you're
back to
not
my
bad.
point. And that goes back to my point that Americans always, or very often, who is that? I
You
think
Oscar. Ain't got
I
look
think
to
that
know.
goes back to my point that Americans compare themselves to the next person. As long as I'm not as bad as you, I'm okay.
No, I
So
didn't
Oops.
compare
that is
myself.
you're saying that
Oops.
you did.
You
You said
did.
you're
You
worse
just
than me.
did.
There's men worse than me. So that means because there's somebody worse than you that I'm not as bad.
Okay,
But
But
let
let
me
me say this.
frame it then.
Let
Let me
me say this.
rephrase that then.
Let me
I'm
say
not gonna say
this.
they're as worse.
The
Well, let me
men,
rephrase it so that it's not looking like whatever Ashley was saying it is. It's not that they're worse than me, but you would look at them and be like, "Whoa, they're actually more hyper masculine than I am." So I'll
so let
rephrase
me
it and say it that way, so it doesn't
hold
sound
on.
like
Let me
it
Okay.
say
has a
this.
negative
The men
connotation.
that we are around, they are masculine men. So when you refer to other men, they don't basically stand in their masculinity. I know somebody that is very similar to you, and he literally would say, "You can't go to the juke joint because you're a woman. Women should drink colorful drinks because hard liquor is not feminine," type of thing. It's a
Well,
lot of very masculine men around, but I think your thing on me, it's sometimes it does sound like you're saying me man, you woman, especially with the superiority thing. And I took the superior, that's why I said hierarchy, because I said hierarchy for myself. I'm like, he can't mean superiority. He has to mean there's order to this. So some things you do say or some things you have said does sound like you're like, I'm the man, you the woman, take this D, go to sleep. See you in the morning. Have my breakfast ready. Don't talk to me. Bye.
right, I don't care how your day going. And I
Take
would
that
like to say
kiss.
that I am a subject matter expert. My dad is hyper masculine. So I'm not saying it's a negative. But
I'm gonna say that.
my dad is a high, so I know one when I see one. My dad is is hyper
He is
masculine.
off, man,
but
man.
but you know the
Ain't
thing.
nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, and I feel like sometimes he sound like I Tarzan, you Jane, I swing, you don't.
You
Sometimes I
give
hear
up
that
back.
from my dad, but and it's not like again. I don't think that there's something super wrong with it, and that might be why I'm attracted to it. But I do know that those men are not emotionally available, and we talked about struggles earlier today. That's my prayer. That's my struggle being attracted to them kind of men. I'm praying not to be. I don't want nobody hyper. I'll just be masculine. That's it. That's
So
my
then
story.
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
So then it's a problem.
It's a problem for me in a
That's
relationship.
so
All right.
at what point did it become hyper? At what point did it become hyper masculine? Because our grandfathers were this way.
You know,
And our grandfather,
And most men before this generation of men were this way. So at what point did it become hyper?
I think
it
Ashley
became hyper.
proved a point though of when it became hyper masculine. In several examples, it becomes hyper when you're comparing yourself to others. And so when you're in this comparison world or this comparison thing, it then one tries to level up the other, and then the hyperness comes into that play, right? I don't compare myself to other men because I know what I have works in every other facet, which is probably why I'm the average level of what, unquote, masculine would be,
I
other
think
than my bonnet. So leave me alone.
right. I was like, you ain't the
Like,
level now.
So leave me alone.
But
okay.
I think that it became hyper masculine. Like you said, our forefathers were masculine. It became hyper when times changed, times evolved. I no longer need, or I'm sorry, not I. A woman no longer needs a man to provide for them. We're not going into relationships with our own house, our own car, and those things. When the gender roles change, because we have to acknowledge that the man is not going outside the house and putting himself in danger to provide for the family, and the woman is not at home just taking care of the children. That's what the roles were. Now that the roles have changed, hyper masculinity comes into play because my needs for you have changed. I don't need you to do everything for me. Now I need
want
for you
to.
to connect to me emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But you, as a hyper man, can't let go of yesteryear to get to a place where now you can reach me on the level that I'm at. If your mindset is still, I go protect, I go hunt, you doing too much, sir. Because that's not the day and
No,
age that
or
we're in.
there's women who see me and will say, okay, he's a masculine male, and they are resting in their femininity. And that's where the pairs come in. So at the end of the day, that's just the case. That's just what it is. They see me, they say, okay, that's a masculine male. I'm a feminine female, and this works for me. And it just goes that way. You, on the other end, I mean, you're in a space where I'm not going to assume or anything, but like you said, you don't need a male to do certain things for you.
No,
So
I don't
you're
think
in
any woman needs that. I don't think any woman needs that anymore. I think if I want it, I want it. I want it. Let's be very clear. But it is not a need. If you don't do it, I'm not going to crumble and die and starve.
I feel like it was never a need. I don't think it was ever a need.
No, back in the day, it was because women couldn't do certain jobs. Women weren't out there.
We weren't allowed to. Doesn't mean we couldn't.
So it was a need then. If I'm not allowed to go into the grocery store, but I need someone to do it, and you're the one that can do it, then I need you to do it. Even if I'm not, because I'm not allowed to do it, I need you to do it. But the need has changed. And I believe me, when I'm in a relationship, I become extremely feminine. But that is a choice to do that. It's a choice to be submissive. The issue is when that man can't turn off that this is not a real need for her, but what she does need is someone to cater to her emotionally. And I feel like those men in your position can't do that.
Well, here's the thing. It's and you just said something about when you're in a relationship, you could turn on the feminine. This is not a thing of turning it on and turning it off. You're either feminine or you're not. You're either masculine or you're not.
That's wrong.
Disagree.
That's
Disagree.
wrong.
Disagree.
Yeah, that's fully wrong.
Okay.
And genetically, that's also fully wrong.
Right.
I feel like just as if you come into contact with an extremely feminine woman, your masculinity is going to peak. You're going to want to be more masculine. Just like with myself, since I'm single and I have to do everything by myself, I have to be not equal masculine feminine, but there are some things that I have to do in a masculine feel that I can't be delicate. I can't mow the lawn skipping. I can't fields and valleys. I can't do that. I have to mow the freaking lawn. But if I have a man that mows the lawn, I can bring you some lemonade, boo. So you're not either just you're not always feminine. No, you're not always masculine. You washing dishes.
It's a difference because I obviously I said this before, I'm divorced. When I was in a house with their dad, we understood if someone came to this house because I'm a gun carrier, who got what weapon. When he was no longer in that house, the weapon that he would have gotten, I have to now assume that position. I am now the sole protector of this house. If a man was here, it would be different. I can rest in the assurance that he's going to be the front. And because like I said, I'm traditional, it's not for everybody, but he will be the front line. And I am here to cover him. It's a difference. It's not turning on and turning off, or I'm just not feminine. Is in certain positions, I cannot afford to be like, oh, okay, it's just gonna automatically get taken care of, because it's not. Everybody in this house is gonna be dead if I don't sit there and become the warrior, the chief warrior for my house. Period.
But that was never your intended role.
It might not be my intended role, but it is now.
Right. You still, just because it's not your intended role, you still have to play it. Somebody has to play the role. Somebody has to fill in until the person that is supposed to play that role steps in.
Right, because if the mom should pass away, if your child's mother
mute your video on Facebook, D.
If a mother passes away, that father is not going to say, "Oh, well, what we do with the child now?" He's going to assume the position to do. He's going to make sure that child eats. He might not be able to nurse the child, but he's going to make sure that child eats. He's going to do everything that he might have planned for the mother to do. He might have planned for her to do all of those things, but if she's not present, her role does not automatically become filled or disappear. Now you're a single father. You can never be the mother, but you need to do your best to fill in the role.
In most cases, men will go ahead and replace the person that was supposed to be there.
But they're not. As soon as she kicks the bucket, he has a lady in wait.
It's not about having a lady in wait, but it's about replacing the
Exactly, but
person to be
in
there. It's not necessarily, and that person doesn't necessarily be a wife. They don't
right,
have to
but
necessarily
in
be
the
a wife,
interim,
but
but in the
there's a
interim,
feminine presence there. Even in
but
the
in
interim,
the
there's
interim, he has to he has to feed this child. Like, say mom dies at birth, he has to fix bottles, he has to cradle this child, he has to care for this child like the nurturing female would. And until his mother comes into town, he has to do that. He can't just let the hey, I don't pick up babies, I don't change diapers, so you just have to wait till my mom gets here. That's not gonna happen.
And your answer is exactly why I say you're hyper masculine.
Actually,
The
just
fact
short circuited.
right. The fact that you just said he'll replace her. Instead of saying, you know what, yeah, I would do my best for my child. No,
Wow.
I'll just replace her behind. I get that you're dead and who gives a flying flip? I'm just gonna replace you. That's hyper.
no. I didn't.
That's how that
Don't phrase
sounds.
That
it
is
like
what
that.
it sounds like,
No,
friend.
don't
That is
phrase
what
it.
it sounds like,
Well,
I
friend.
just
if
want
the
to know
way
what Ashley's
the way
eating.
that you're interpreting it, I can't help
Uh-huh.
that. I can't help the way that you're taking that.
But
But
you
that's not
can.
the that's but
That kills me when
I
people say
can't.
I can't take how
No.
you're I can't help how you're
I
taking that. Yeah, yeah,
if
you
I
can.
sin, I can no, I can't. No. I
This
say it
is
how I say it. You
this
say
is
it how
the
you
one
say it.
time tonight that
It's
I've
by
agreed with
explanation.
ST3.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the
Shut
first
up
time I've agreed with ST3. Uh, how
today.
something lands on you is not his responsibility.
But
I
if you
agree. But
feel
if that's not your intent, if that's not how you meant it, then season it better.
right,
Or
Toxic
and
perhaps
femininity.
understand the flavor that he's trying to give.
Toxic femininity.
and if you have to,
Hyper masculinity.
I mean, oh, so well, say it better. No, how about you just hear what I said and
You said
process
you
it?
replace her. That's what
you
you
said
said. You will replace her. Those are your exact
Replace her.
words.
oh,
Yeah. There needs to be another feminine energy there. How I replace her? I didn't get into specifics.
Just to heck with it.
right.
Mother,
So since you
aunt,
left it open, then
sister,
her how she took
eventually
it
another wife.
is how you wanted it to be taken. Okay. Do you have something to say?
Go out with the trash.
Well, no, I mean, I've been chiming in all night. I've been chiming in. But yeah, my definition of toxic femininity is when you just deny that both of us have masculine and feminine parts. There are certain things that are considered feminine things, and we go and we have ebbs and flows of femininity and masculinity. And toxic femininity would be a person who doesn't acknowledge the fact that there are certain features that are masculine and feminine, and that everybody has those features.
Certain features or behaviors.
Behaviors.
Okay.
Dr.
Behaviors.
Jackson.
Stelson, can I ask a question to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm really not a fan of the term I'm going to use, so I'll put it in finger quotes. What is your feminine energy?
What is my feminine energy?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say I'm nurturing.
I'm laughing.
Okay.
By the way, I'm
Yeah.
laughing at Ashley's response,
Right.
not at ST3. And what I want to commend you on is not which actually kind of debunks the hypermasculinity conversation we were having about you, because a hypermasculine person, in the way that I think Ashley was saying in that or using in that terminology, would say I have no feminine quality.
And that's
I
what
have no
exactly.
feminine
That's why I
energy.
asked that question.
And so,
Right.
and then for
And
you
that's
to
why,
say,
yeah.
and then for you to say nurturing, which I think is
The
an
most
absolute,
feminine.
like I think is
Right.
That's
really,
hyper
really,
feminine, nah.
which is I think is really crucial. I think that's I got to commend you, brother, on that.
No.
But also,
Well,
Dr.
and
Jackson.
I
But also,
call
Dr. Jackson, I will
butterscotch.
have to say this just before you go, Ashley. Dr. Jackson, this is the night that I've disagreed with you the most ever in our existence together, in our love together. And I just want to say that out loud. But we're gonna heal, and we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna use the therapist. We're gonna use the therapist that ST3 has, so we can only have one session. Okay.
Right.
Hello.
I call butterscotch on his
You call butterscotch. Why you call that? Why you say
on
that?
your feminine trait.
Yeah.
Because you went from, I said if she died, you would do your best. You went to,
Because
I'm
you
gonna
have to replace. Oh,
you
come on,
didn't say,
come on.
yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm going to feed that child. I'm gonna change diapers. You didn't say none of
Well,
that. You just said no.
well,
Boop, 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 boop. You said I'm
you
going
said
to
toxic
replace
femininity.
her. So
Toxic
I feel
femininity.
like then you come back with nurturing. I think that you are I think that you're a smart, beautiful black man. And I think that you choose your words very wisely. I think you have a politician kind of quality about you. I think that you have practiced the art of arguing, even though you're not winning it tonight. I feel like
Wow. Okay.
you gave that answer and that was very thought out and strategic, but I do not believe it. I call butterscotch bacon strips BS on that.
We'll come find out.
Do I need to move everybody again?
No, don't
I
do it.
feel like you
Okay.
do, and I feel like you need
No,
to play
but
music when you're doing it.
that's just it. Ashley just been coming at me all night, and it's just that's just the I know what that is. That's
Ashley
the
comes at
fight.
everybody
That's
all
the
night.
fight before the yeah. But
It's not, sir. It's
I'm
not.
I'm kidding. But no. But no, honestly, that I would say that is, well, that is definitely one of my feminine traits. Most definitely, I would point that out. And you could say what you want, but I do care about people. I do care about the people that I'm associated with. I don't look at it as just with Sam. I earlier today, there's a lot of things I don't agree with him as far as like what he was discussing, but I still took the time to talk to him. I still took the time to try to understand him. If that's not nurturing, then I don't know what is.
I think that's just humanity. I don't think that
That's
that's nurturing.
empathy.
I think that that's just humanity. We shouldn't disregard anybody, and say, you know what, you're not good enough to talk to. Unless you killed my parents, then I mean, I don't want to hear anything you have to say after that.
Not your sister?
But I mean, that's a give or take. No, I'm just kidding. But I feel like talking to somebody, I don't think that's nurturing. I don't think that's the definition of that. But I appreciate the effort though.
You know he's googling it right now. That's why his
You
eyes
you
on the other
you
way.
you you
Right. You know
know
he over
you
there. You
know.
know he over there.
It's the knowledge. It's the knowledge.
And he said
Nurturing.
knowledge.
Listen, I mean,
I agree with
like
Knowledge.
that's the thing.
Ashley.
The knowledge is right in front of us, so you might as well pull it out.
The information is right there.
But the wisdom is not innate, but wisdom is innate. And I think
Right.
that there's a difference. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But I actually disagree with Ashley on that one.
To further
I
develop the
agree.
development
Show your
of
face with that bonnet and say that.
To my face.
Now with
Yes,
the bonnet.
with the bonnet on.
Now with the bonnet.
I need to see the bonnet. I need
training
I
to
wasn't
see
even
it.
supposed to be
bringing.
on. I wasn't even supposed to be on here tonight.
Nah, I need to see you with the bonnet.
Oh, and
I-
knowing chef is not a bonnet, it's a turban.
Right.
No, it's a whole vibe of a bonnet. But I wasn't even supposed to be on here tonight. There's a whole lot to cover in that segment that Sam did that I did not think represented really, really well. And so I do want to say that out loud as also, that I think there's a lot more in that portion, but that I'm not ready for tonight because I don't want to throw hands. But I do want to say that out loud too.
Your definition of nurturing?
Oh, I said it. Upbringing, training.
Oh, what? Someone pull up that.
That's the
You want us
noun.
to know what you have.
The verb to further the development of. Educate.
So you felt because you had a conversation, you furthered the development of that particular person. You feel like you feel like that's what you just
I
did.
would say so. I would think so. Yeah.
Masculinity. If you feel like that's what you did tonight, if you feel like you developed Sam tonight,
Further developed.
my gosh. Yes.
I further
Okay.
developed. Yeah.
Wow. I think you just said your point of
We'll
view.
see, but
I don't think you developed
I
him.
think you
I said my
informed.
point of
But okay. I'm
educate.
going.
I think
So
I think
informed,
you
we can
informed.
agree
I
that's
don't think you
educating, right?
nurtured him.
Is that
But-
so? Would that be educate? Informing someone? Is that educating someone?
No, you
No,
informed
I
him of
can
your views.
right. No, that's not the same thing.
Dr.
I can
Jackson,
I can inform you of things all the
Dr.
time
Jackson, can you
about
tell me?
myself. Let's not give you education.
She
What's
I
said
just
she
so?
toxic.
I don't know.
Do you
I'm not
think?
toxic. We all toxic. I don't care.
I'm
We all
gonna.
have
I
our
mean, I could agree
toxic
with that.
traits.
I can agree
We
with
all
that.
have toxic traits.
Yeah, we can.
I
We're
mean,
not. I mean, the only
Brandy.
person that was not toxic that walked the face of
you
this
mute
earth.
yourself again,
The
sir.
only person that was not toxic that walked the face of this earth was Jesus Christ, or whatever you want to call him. That's the only person
Yeah,
that
whatever
walked
you
the
want to
face of
call
this
him.
earth
That's
that was
that's
not
what you
toxic.
call him. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, people got their whole different ways of calling it,
Name.
but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that was the only being that walked the face of this earth that was not toxic.
Folks would say Christ was toxic when he started throwing tables.
That wasn't toxic.
No, that was
Okay,
not
but
toxic.
if
That was
ST3
necessary.
started throwing tables, it's
That's not
hyper
toxic. It's
Well, it
masculine.
depends on what
hypermasculinity.
it's what am I?
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
I
It
hate you,
depends on
Brandy.
why I was doing it. Jesus started flipping tables because they were selling the merchants were selling in the temples,
that's
dishonoring
not
his father.
that's not why he was flipping tables. But okay.
Oops, not us not knowing the Bible.
Well, why did he do it then, Ashley? Go ahead and tell me.
It was
Why did he flip the
because
tables,
of
Ashley?
it was the prices in which they were selling it because the people
They're
had
cheating
traveled.
people.
The people had traveled such a distance, they had to make an offering. So some people couldn't bring their offering. So they would have to purchase it at the time that they got there. They were inflating the prices so much. That's what he didn't like. And I feel like it flipping tables does not define being toxic. Because if I'm in my house and I flip the table because someone became an intruder and I'm using it to save myself or whatever, I think we need to keep things in perspective. Just because we want to say Jesus was angry because of what he did, is why did he do it? And it wasn't because they were selling. It was the prices at which they were selling it.
So technically, in a way, ST3, you were kind of right. But it was because they were cheating people, taking advantage of people that wanted to sacrifice to the Lord for themselves, for their family.
And that was an example of Ashley being toxic and Brandy being nurturing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on my side, Chef.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah. That was a little toxic. Although I was about it, that was a little
I want to
toxic.
see that. Explain. No, because maybe I was. Explain that to me how it was being toxic. I want to work on myself.
Yeah,
I think so. There's also if we want to talk about, like, we're talking about 2023, we're talking about culture. There's call out and call in, right? There could have been a way for you to call in ST3 to better educate in that moment, rather than be like, make those faces and be like, you're wrong. This is what actually happened. That was toxic.
Right. You know what? You're right. I could have. But you know what? I didn't like what I heard, the way he was like, because like as if he was just
she didn't like
right.
she didn't like what she heard.
I didn't like the hyper masculinity.
But Brandy came in. But Brandy came in with that nurturing vibe.
Right, she did.
Right.
Kudos to her. So I'm gonna work on my toxic femininity, and you work on your hyper masculinity. And when we get together, we'll be perfect.
So that was toxic, right there.
Right,
so there you go. That's another toxic. Not you. We just called out how people compare themselves
Passive
to
aggressive.
others. Like, really? Like, we just come on.
Dr. Jackie, good night, boo.
See, I don't try to do this. It just happens.
Listen, I don't deny that I have toxic traits. But I'm gonna call you out.
See, I call you in. I'm gonna call you in. I'm gonna do it later.
I'm nurturing, so no toxicity here.
Brandy. See, I might come on camera for that with my bonnet on.
Please do.
To talk about that.
This is my innocent.
My bonnet. We can have a bonnet party.
Right, because I'm gonna throw mine on.
Get your bonnet too.
So then, how do you respond to? This is a true question for me. How do you respond?
Our question's true. I'm sorry. Our question's true.
Real. How do you respond? Okay, toxic. How do you respond to?
That was a question, a true question.
Toxic. How do you respond to someone who is being toxic? Then, what is the what is their, I don't know if there's a remedy, but what is an appropriate way to not escalate, but to better navigate through?
I feel
How do
like
you how do you
You would have to allow them to basically find a way to ask them a question so they can actually point out their toxicity themselves.
nah, I
because my
match
mom
toxic with toxic.
dang
In psychology, they call that mirroring. I'm 100% a mirror. So whatever I see, I reflect, and so it is. We'll just be toxic together.
So let me rephrase the
so
question.
let me
Let
answer
me
well let me
rephrase the
try to
question. How do you appropriately respond
Right,
to?
right.
so I too you get what you give. I try to work on it, but you get what you give. And I be waiting on my Karens to give so they can get, right? But I think the way to appropriately handle that is something my mom often says to me. And I don't know why she says it so much to me. It's weird. She says, show yourself friendly.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying.
And
It's
I
like
think
you would ask a question to them, be like, "Is there a better way you could have said that?" You know?
Well, I don't always follow this, but I try to. It's you got to think about this one, and where it says, "Do unto others as you want done unto yourself."
Mm.
So
you can mirror me.
you
See,
you
that's the
know
golden rule, but
that is the golden rule.
I don't
We don't-
operate that way. And this is the toxic nature in me. I operate in the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they would want unto them. So
Treat
not
people how they want to be treated.
exactly. And
Hmm.
so I'm more
Oscar.
that's why I'm asking the question, because I need some therapy and coaching, because if someone shows up somewhat toxic to me, I kind of reciprocate that type of energy unless I'm dealing in a political um spectrum or a political
Well,
world,
then
right?
just think about it. Think about it
Oliver.
that way. Think about it that way, Chef. Think about it as if you're in a political sense, and more so the fact that you are. There's always somebody watching. If you get me, and so you never know when that is going to follow you back later on down the line.
Mm.
In
I
all
appreciate that.
So, right.
in all honesty, I think I lead with love. I think I'm more toxic with people that I'm familiar with. Um,
Correct.
I just, I'm
Are
just,
you familiar with me already?
I
Oops.
am,
Oh
but
wow.
I feel like,
Ouch.
I
Or
feel like
ooh.
I do when it's a stranger or someone, business or anything. I think I lead with love. I think I try to avoid confrontation as much as possible. I just try to, and if that person's toxic, you can just have it. Like I don't have to engage in conversation. I don't have to continue in whatever this is.
Oh, this goes back to the good old book where it says turn the other cheek. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Just
not
Only
what
got
that
two
meant.
cheeks though. Only
That
got
is
two
not
cheeks
what
though.
that meant. I'm just
take
Ashley,
it as you
I'm
may.
didn't we
kidding.
just learn something?
I'm just
Didn't we just
kidding.
learn something tonight?
Look, you see toxic femininity at its finest, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm
You can't
just
make this up.
playing.
Only got two cheeks.
She ain't playing. She for real. Every joke has some truth.
Right, right,
You only
right.
got
That's
two
toxic.
cheeks?
That's toxic femininity.
And she's trying to be
I
I'm
cute
just
am
kidding.
no
because she is cute.
cheater.
That's
You
how they
only
do.
got
Oh,
two
look at my
cheeks?
face. I'm so cute.
She is
I'm just
Oh,
cute.
cute.
kidding.
Oh my god.
I'm just a woman. Femininity.
Thank you. You can
I'm
cute,
just
guys.
kidding. Yep. That's what they do.
Oops, not they.
Right.
That's
Hold on. Who are
Right.
they? Because I ain't say nothing like that.
Oop.
Right.
I was being general. I was just generalizing. Okay, but that's what she's
It's the
doing right now.
shade for
So
me.
anybody, what was that now?
I said it's the shade for me.
Oh,
Right. It's a
But
lot
I'm
of
I'm
that
I'm
that's what
I'm
that's what
always
Ashley
down
does. So
for a
if
conversation. I'm always down for a conversation. Call it
that's what the
toxic if you
Ashleys of the
No,
want.
world
that's
do.
true.
What's true?
You're always down for a conversation.
Oh,
I'm vouching
so I'm not
for.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna yell at you,
Yeah,
but I will if your feelings need to be hurt.
yeah.
I'll try not to hurt them, but I mean, but I'm not toxic at all. I'm honest with myself.
Yeah, I think ultimately what needs to, and this is my opinion of what needs to happen, but I think that we need to realize the agenda of the world and what they want and start working in opposite of that, because the world wants a world where men are weak. Because if men are weak, then let's go back to the whole hierarchy thing of God, man, woman. If man is disconnected from God, then that kills the entire rest of that link, right? And so actually they're not agreeing. If man is not the position that man is supposed to be, then they're not being in the intended place that God wanted him to be from the beginning. Let's go back to the garden. Like I said, we're with Adam. God, Adam was not doing the intention, or was not in the purpose of what God assigned him to do. And we find out a lot these days with most men, is that they're not in purpose. They're not in line of what God wants them to do. And ultimately, they're not in line with God.
I think we get to a good place, you and I, and then you talk again, and we just go to the left.
Toxic femininity.
You feel like if
Yeah.
the man is not in line with God, then the woman is not getting pretty much the full benefit, I guess, kind of. I feel like, one lady came up to me before and she said, even if he's not praying, God is not going to leave you uncovered.
No, of course not.
Like, for you to say that it has to be God, man, me, I think that that's so interesting. If you choose not to believe in God, who gives a flying flip? That's between you and God. That does not change my relationship with my God. If me and my girl's dad choose not to believe, that has nothing to do with their relationship with God. You don't need those stepping stones to get to God. No,
I
there's plenty
feel
of people who were raised a certain way, maybe cat, whatever they were raised. I'm not gonna say anything is right or wrong, but who were raised a certain way, chose to believe something else, and now they have their own relationship with God. That's weird to me. If my mom, which she would never do, says I don't believe in God today, that does not change my position with God.
I think what Stolson is saying though is if the man is out of order, then the household is out of order. I
Yeah.
believe that as
Yeah.
the traditional, modern, I guess, traditional female, that I do believe that if the man is out of order, however, my prayers can get our household back in order. But I think there is some disorder about. And I'm believing that that's what he's referring to. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong,
I
say
don't
it.
agree with
Yeah,
that.
but
I
then
feel like that's
if
the same. I
you
don't agree with that.
if you actually now go to your pastor, who is, I'm not just going to assume is male, right? Then you're still following the hierarchy of a man, even though it's not a man that fathered your children. You're still following the hierarchy of a man.
Oops.
In most cases, that's what it is. You see a lot more women are in churches, and whose church are they in? They in the male pastor church. Who hierarchy are they
Oops.
following?
But
The
you
Oops.
know
male
why?
pastor.
Oops.
You know why there's more women in church though?
Why is
It's
that?
because hyper masculinity. I ain't taking no leadership from no other man. He ain't gonna
No,
do it.
that's not the reason why.
That
That's not
is
the
why.
reason
'Cause
why.
y'all don't know how to
No,
just say, you know what? He knows a little bit more than
no,
I
that's
do.
not the reason why.
That is why. And I
No.
Okay,
That's not
okay. Then why
that's
aren't
because
y'all in church?
we got a bunch of Instagram pastors who out here
prior to that,
coddling
no, that's been a
and
systemic
coping to the way of the
disorder.
world. We got a bunch of Instagram pastors that are coping to the world and coping to what the world is framing instead of coping to what God has intended it to be.
More women in church
Have
have been the statistics
always been
before social media. So let's not blame social media on why
agree.
you
I'm
don't
not,
think you're better.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Instagram type pastors, even if they're not on social media, it's those type of pastors I'm talking about.
So then
Is
why
those
are men not in church?
Right, that was the question.
Why are men not in church?
because the leader of the church is out of order. The church is out of order.
I know a pastor. He's very much in order. And this is from my humble humanistic realm of view. Very much in order. There's a lot more women at his church than there are men.
Well, and here's another thing. I mean, you guys might not agree with me, but church, The church is a healing home for the spiritually sick.
We are the church.
Do we? Well, first and foremost, we are the church. Us right here, us three, and 2 or 3 in His name is the church. So us right here, we have in church right now, anyways. But the physical church you go to, Sunday morning, Wednesday night, whatever you go to, that is the healing, the spiritual healing center for the sick. At some point or another, there is time to check out of that place.
Okay, we're
Because
so off topic, but I do want to ask a question. 2 questions. SC3, is your mother still living?
yes,
Does she cook traditional Creole food?
did she cook what now?
Haitian food?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
She's being
Why?
toxic, and I don't know why
Yeah,
or how,
right.
but I know there's something toxic in that
I
question.
know. Yeah.
No, I like
Ooh.
Haitian food. That's cooked. No, I was just asking because I was just asking. I wanted to know.
Oh, Ashley,
I do.
you're being
Oh.
toxic, but in a whole different way that we didn't gather. Oh
Right.
my
See,
God.
you trying to be
I'm gonna whoop your butt.
I'm
No,
being
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over there and I'm gonna give you a belt.
if
I'll
you
do
were
it.
someone else and said that, then I
Ooh.
would have said, okay.
Yeah.
Toxic.
Hyper masculine.
Toxic.
Super feminine.
But but no, honestly, I mean, that is one of the reasons why I'm in church. The last time I went to church, and I physically tried to go to church. I went to, this is one church right here, not too far from me, Reva Timms, whatever her church name is called. I went in there, and the church, like, first and foremost, walking into the church was just like, the energy of the space was just off to me. You know,
Was it when she was at New Destiny, or was it recently?
It's the one that's right here on Kirkman, whatever they call it, Kingdom Palace or something like that, Kingdom Space, something like that.
Because New Destiny was a whole different thing.
I went to New Destiny. I've been to plenty of churches in my lifetime. I've been to plenty of church spaces. I've done the youth leaders. I've done Bible studies. I've done quizzing. I've done everything that you can do in church that was appropriate. You know, I didn't do none of the nasty stuff on the back of the bus other people was doing. I didn't do that stuff, but I knew people who did. But
wow.
Yeah. Anyways,
mute yourself back, please, ma'am. Mute yourself back.
You know, but it was the first and foremost, just walking into the space. It was just, the energy was just like, I don't know, but I knew God brought me there for a reason. And I was, the first thing they did was point one of those little laser things to my head. It was like, oh yeah, you need a mask to sit in the church. I said, I need a mask to sit in this church. It's like, yeah, we got to be careful with the COVID spread. I'm like, oh wow, okay. You have little faith. Wow, you just okay. Wow.
That doesn't apply to that.
No, it does apply. It does apply. It does apply.
That's just like saying. That's just like saying, why do I go to the doctor? God gave us doctors, so that we can be cared for. God gave us knowledge and wisdom to know that wear your mask so that you don't spread it to other people. Like that's just not
Brandy. As the judge, I ask that you please strike this from the record.
I was driving trucks, and I've been to 30 different states, countless cities, and interacted with a bunch of people. I ain't caught COVID one time.
And
you're asymptomatic, baby. You're asymptomatic.
Okay, we got all these terms for it. How about just God got grace on me?
And the real
God
being asymptomatic.
So you're saying
God gave you grace by being
asymptomatic.
God gave me grace
Of COVID. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
God gave me grace.
Let's pray together. those that have power, not you, SC3.
I got plenty of power, baby.
I like when you comment, but no, that's crazy though, because they're wearing masks, they have little faith.
And he gave grace to those who didn't show signs of COVID.
No.
He can't believe that.
He doesn't believe it. That's his pushback part. He doesn't believe it.
No. That was strike. That was strike one. That was strike one for me. Strike two, the sermon. I can't even remember what it was talking about, but it was one of the most basis of basic sermons that I could have ever heard. It was like did y'all this? It sounded like something you preached at another church, and it's like, okay, guys, here's the
Good
thing.
night.
Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing. I talk to God-fearing men. I talk to men who are when we talk, we don't talk about the surface level of the Bible. We go deep and down into the trenches of the understanding of the Bible. So,
but you didn't know how
That's
Jesus
the
turned
man
the
who said it,
table,
why
Stop
the table
it.
was turned over.
Come on now.
That's the man who says that
right?
Adam put Eve to work.
Correct.
Come on now,
you
sir.
can go
How
Google
deep-
why
how
Jesus
deep
flipped the
can we
table and
get?
see the answer.
No, you Googling it, but what you
I
need
already
to do
did.
is study for yourself.
I
You
already
need to
did.
Right.
study
No,
for
you were wrong on that
yourself.
one.
Yeah, I already
You were
did.
wrong on that one.
Yeah,
You
I
need
already
to
did.
study for yourself.
You
No, I
you
did.
were
Trust me.
you weren't exact. You weren't exact on that one.
Oops.
But anywho, let's put a period in your sentence. Back to the host, please.
Oh, that's so
Toxic.
toxic. Not you. Not you.
Toxic femininity.
She's
Wow.
so toxic.
See, we don't even have to talk about toxic femininity, guys, because
She's so
it's just
toxic.
present right here. This is just what it is.
Put it right down my forehead.
And it's the
The
passive
toxic
aggressiveness.
feminine. I'm gonna tat it for
It's-
you on your forehead.
It's the
Toxic
passive
femininity.
aggressiveness in her name that says me never. Like that's
toxic who?
But how
Oh my
is
God.
she being toxic
Me?
by saying what she doesn't agree?
Never.
So, as it's in order to not be toxic, does she have to agree with everything a man says?
no.
Right, because every
That's-
time I disagree, I'm toxic.
No.
Right.
Ashley, let me tag me in SC3. I can't believe we're friends at this point.
You're not.
It's not
Pen pals.
that you're disagreeing, it's the way you disagree, which goes back to us saying very much earlier the energy of how one shows toxic nature, essentially. So the way you disagree is very toxic, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh.
I mean,
I have nothing else to say to that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
but that's the thing for me. Like I said, most of my church comes from.
Didn't we put a
conversation.
period in your sentence?
Go ahead. You
No,
can finish
we
what
did.
you
We
were saying,
didn't.
Martha.
Hyper masculine here,
thought we
doing his
voted
hyper masculine thing. Okay,
Hyper masculine, right?
right, running right through it.
Okay, I can deal you.
Yeah. So the group of men that I speak to, we go in deep. We don't, we've had conversations about just even the role once you're married, just like the church don't even talk about like getting it down like that when you're married. What
Getting
does the
it
Bible
down like
say?
what?
Like
What?
getting down. Like I'm talking about when you and your spouse, like there's no holds bar when you're married. You can do any and everything. The church don't talk about that.
Some holes
you don't go
barred.
to the right church.
There are some holes that are barred. You can't bring a horse into your. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. I'm not married. Let me not.
Well,
no, you can't bring a horse now unless you. You can't.
Well, there are some, but the church I go to, or the churches I've been to, nothing is defiled in the marital bed. That is your time to shine.
Right. But the church don't have Sunday sermons on that. I ain't never been to one church. And if there is, point me in that direction so I can go listen to the sermon.
Is that what you want to hear?
Why do you need a pastor to say, you know what, so you could take her down any way you want? Why does that have to be something
that that's just an example of the conversations that I've had. Those are
not you needing coaching.
No, I don't need no coaching. It's not about the coaching,
bring
but
bring it back.
No. It's not about the coaching. It's about just the fact that the church, they don't go deep and down into the Bible. They just stick right there on the surface, and that's just it. And it's just more so of keeping everybody comfortable.
You're
the
at
Bible
the wrong
ain't comfortable.
Church. Yeah,
like I said, point me to the right church, because I have not been able to. There's one church that I found, and it was a small little church at a truck stop in Atlanta. Off of, I forget what exit it is, but it's on that 185. Is a truck. I was driving trucks. It was a truck stop. Chaplain Ken, Chaplain Ken, and like he goes into it. You know what I'm saying? Like for the most part,
truck drivers were doing something. They be doing some interesting things, so that had to be the topic for that particular group.
Come on, preach to the masses.
No, that's just how he is. We talk all the time. That's just how he is. That's
Yeah,
how he is.
consider the audience. Consider the audience.
He was
And
yeah.
so what do you do now for a living?
Not
What do I
truck
do now? You saying?
Mhm.
Oh, I still drive.
You drive the 48 states or just like a southeast region?
Southeast region.
Okay, home every night or
driver.
2 weeks on, 1 week off?
Well, I'm in the middle of transition to another job, so
Oh, okay.
I should be home every night. But
Okay. Continue, host.
I was about to remove myself. 'Cause
Just basic question. I know what everyone else does on the panel. It's just getting
I
to
feel
know
like
everybody.
this was interview process.
That's it. Getting to know.
but that that's to wrap that up. For me personally, that's why I don't necessarily go.
Talk to Libra. I mean, talk to the realist.
Oh, he's there. He's here.
No, but if he
Oh.
wants to speak with someone, if he wants to go to somebody who gonna give it how it is.
If he,
Well,
yeah,
I
the
got
realist
my
goes
people.
to the core, and that's what I'm hearing is because I started typing out a list of, because I heard the call, right, ST3, and like point me to the right direction. I have a list of the directions for you.
I think my
I'll
list
go.
would
I'll
be,
go. Yeah, I'll
my list
go.
would be talk to the realist, or I'll connect you to him.
And for
I'll
me,
go.
I also have to say this carefully. Actually, I don't say this carefully at all. The example that you gave was also not like stomping on someone's like success and whatever they're doing, but I think someone that has a mega church is very different than someone that preaches to a small community.
Very.
And because someone that has a connection with their community, a smaller community, knows every person and everything about that community, and there is no way you can be authentic when you have more than what you can handle. And so I will also say the folks that I'm going to point you in the direction of, and the churches and the communities I'm going to point you in the direction of, have a community that's manageable and it's authentic.
Well, and that's that's at the end of the day was what really matters. The whole idea of mega church, that's ego. Any of these mega churches and big churches got hundreds and thousands of members and whatnot. That's all rooted in ego.
I don't. Okay. I just feel
I'm
like
not gonna say it's
What
rooted in ego. I'm gonna say they do pander to maintain their certain lifestyle. I'm not saying all of them,
Okay.
but it's not that they're not giving God's word. They are just not like you said, they're not, I don't think they're going into the depth of the word. They're keeping it very
How many times I got to hear the same scriptures? Not the same scripture, but the same
sermon.
The same sermon. How many times do I have to hear the same sermon to be like, okay, it's like taking the same class over and over and over again, expecting to learn something new.
But you also have to go to Bible study, like the sermon.
Well, and like I said, I've been to all of that. I've been to all of that.
Do you not watch a movie? Do you not watch a movie multiple times and not learn something or see something new that you haven't seen before? Because that's what you're
wrong.
Yeah, but I get that point, Chev. What you're saying, if you watch a movie multiple times, you're going to see things that you didn't see before. But if it was them. If it was them recording the sermon and I'm watching the sermon over and over, just picking up the different things that I missed, that's one thing. But if it's them just revisiting the same exact sermon over and over.
One more thing before Ashley chimes in. Sorry, Ashley. Sorry. One more thing. And then have you not watched a movie at the age of 10, and then that same movie hits differently at age 20?
Class act.
Right?
I often say class act.
And it's not necessarily you learning something or catching something new in what was said, but it hits differently because of how you processed what was said.
And like
so
experience
is therefore there because of experience. So therefore, and I'm honestly playing devil's advocate at this.
Yeah, I hear that.
But or however, should even repeating something, no matter how folks repeat something, doesn't it hit differently in stages of life, in different stages of life?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I would agree to that. I could say that. Yeah, you're right in saying that.
And I think that you're not the only person in that church. So just because you heard it before doesn't mean that there's someone who sat down and have never heard it before. They're not
Right.
keeping tabs on how many times do you come and what did we preach the last time he was here. There's other people there that probably are benefiting from it. And I'm pretty sure that when you have sex, because you said that you're verbal, which is something that I like, I'm sure you don't use a new line every time. Like, I'm sure you've repeated some things, and I'm sure it still hits with your partner. But I think that the fact that we make church this, we give so much demand on the church that we don't give to ourselves, I think is crazy. And I think that if you repeat things and you expect your mother to hear that same story again, or a friend, then I mean, they can repeat stuff in church too. And it's your, ultimately it's your responsibility to go home and to really dig deep if that's what you want to do.
And to study and show yourself approved,
The end,
says my mommy.
says the Bible.
I mean, right. My mommy says it often.
Muting.
Did you want to respond to what they said?
Oh no, I hear what you're saying.
But Grace Alive is a great
Oh,
church,
she's
and I
back.
will be there on Sunday.
You said Grace Alive?
Yeah, it's a great
See,
church,
I was thinking about that.
and I'll be there on Sunday.
And that's the realist is probably going to be
Where's that church located?
Orlando. Not far from you, actually. It's
Okay.
it's in your area.
Noel Street. Is it Noel Street?
Google.
Off
Yeah,
of
that's another
off of
dude.
is that
You know how to Google. No.
Yeah, Ashley, don't be the person like you take three rights after this light. No,
No, that goes to my house. That doesn't go to the church.
oh my! I'm going on mute. I gotta go to bed.
You're a silly goose.
Grace Alive. Okay.
Yeah, I need to go to sleep too because I have to get up at early morning.
Brandy, I don't like your sister.
Oh, okay. Okay, I know this church. This used to be a 7-day Adventist church.
probably before they took over.
Okay, yeah, I've been to this facility before. Yeah, it used to be I think it was called Baraka, 7-day Adventist church.
Well, it's not Baraka now, but
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
You can come visit. You can come visit.
All right. So does anybody have anything they want to finish off about toxic femininity, toxic masculinity? I only say that because I feel like if you're going to say something is toxic masculinity, then there's a such thing as toxic femininity. I don't believe either one of them are real. So you can't make me.
Oh, wow.
Right. That was a shocker.
Yeah, that was a big statement.
And all this time that we've been on, I didn't know you.
I know. I feel like we need another 2 hours on 3 hours 18 minutes.
I don't think there.
I mean, I agree. Any enmity and or ism and
Nah, but racism is real.
Right. Sexism is real. Ageism is real.
Ooh. Wait, first of all, how y'all gonna cut him off on his opinion that y'all wait a minute.
You're
toxic
right.
femininity.
Muting.
Brandy, I thought better of you.
Toxic femininity is discord.
It's discord. It's disagreement.
And I disagree.
It's disagreement.
I disagree.
Disagreement.
No, like I said, I personally think that a lot of these isms and ist and all these things are just things to put us in a box to keep us away from the real thing. And I think the real thing is how we treat each other. I think the real thing is we are here together. We are all different, but we all have to learn how to live with one another, because at the end of the day, there's one purpose in life, and that is to see, and I don't know what anybody else's purpose is, but my purpose in life is to see the kingdom. There's a better world, there's a better place than this that I've been promised to, and I want to get there. And so whatever I need to do, whatever I need to be to get there at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing. And so that's why I try not to. And this took some time. This took some time with me working with God to get to this point, for to be this quote unquote hyper masculine male that that I am, because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal for me is to see the kingdom. None of this crap down here matters. We all are toxic people. We all fall short. We nobody here is perfect. Everybody's trying to figure it out and are as confused as the next and think they got it all figured out, and we don't. Nobody has it figured out. Nobody has the answers. There's only one person with the answers, and I try to live and guide myself as much as possible to the person, the being with the answers, as much as possible as I can. And obviously I'm not perfect, and he knows I ain't the being knows I ain't perfect, and that's why I keep myself caged up in my home most of the time, because if I leave these four walls, then I might get into some trouble. And so I just stay here and be here and try to be with God as much as possible, as mucked up as possible as I can.
How many square feet are those four walls?
Oh Jesus. Okay, Ashley, what do you have to say? What's your last step?
Beauty.
Brandy,
that's a valid question.
No.
How is that a valid question?
Don't answer that.
How is
Don't
that a
answer
valid
that
question?
Please don't answer that.
I mean, do you own those four walls? Just
Brandy, am I next, or is it Ashley next?
Go ahead,
I live here, so that's all that matters. Go ahead, Brandy.
Judge, I'm looking at the judge. I'm strike from the record. Okay, thank you. I believe there is absolutely a such thing as toxic masculine, and I believe there's a such thing as toxic feminine. I can't believe I had to go after that. The reason being, I do think that men and women, whether innately or unintentionally, but mostly, toxicity for me is an intentional way for folks to harm others in whatever space that they're in. And I do believe that there are people who are out there that exhibit those behaviors. And whether it be from their masculine perspective or their feminine or their feminine nature, I believe the two exist. I have witnessed the two. I have done one of them before, and we can learn. One of the things, ST3, I definitely agree with your statement, is we just need to figure out how to love one another, grow and thrive with one another as well. But we have to acknowledge that people exhibit behaviors that don't go in that necessarily environment. So it exists, it happens, it can be very harmful, it can be very hurtful, but if we call in folks and teach them and grow with them as to why we should not do those things, then I think that's when we get to a better future.
And let me tell you why I do not believe in these. Oh, thank you for your input, everyone. I don't want to just dismiss that I didn't hear what you were saying. Girl, you muted.
No, she said she didn't go, but we heard plenty. You went when you asked.
Oh, you didn't go. It felt like you went 3 times.
No, yeah, when she talked about that square footage, we heard you. Next.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
That was a valid question that I'm not the only person that wanted an answer to that. I'm more than sure of it. Anywho, I think we all do know my answer. I believe that both exist. I believe that I do walk in it at times, and I wear that badge very proudly, because it does have to be a negative. And the end. That's all I got. Yeah. And just one last question that everyone wants to know: how long have you lived in those four walls?
Who the freak is
Brandy, Brandy, you're up. Thank you.
People want to know the stability, the longevity of
I would like to, if you are in the rental process, I am available to help you purchase a home, as I am a realtor in Florida, Georgia, and Eastern Alabama. And I'm darn good at what I do.
She got my house.
But please you don't have to answer that question. So I wish I was there so I could just pop you. So the reason I do not believe that there's a such thing as toxic masculinity and toxic femininity is because I feel like we use those terms to ignore that there are actually subcategories, that there are categories within those that you can call it what it is. It's either it's abusive power, it's disrespect, it's abuse of authority. It's so many other terms that you can use, but you want to lump it all together and call it toxic masculinity, which causes someone to mute their the masculinity that they have, or you call it toxic femininity, so that we are less feminine. But then when we are less feminine, there's a problem. We're overly masculine. So it's like it's you use it as a catch-all and you can't catch all. So I don't believe that there is a such thing as toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. There are traits that are not positive and traits that are not negative. So that's where I sit.
I'll piggyback off that and say, Brandy, yeah, I agree. I
Ow,
think
you're heavy.
it's
Get
just,
off. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You missed it. You missed it.
I didn't. I got it. She
I
was saying
know.
on her back. She was saying 'cause she
she's
piggyback.
somebody's on her back.
She was. You said I'll
Yeah.
piggyback, so you were the piggy.
Oh my goodness!
See how we make a good team. You didn't understand it. I understood, and I explained it in a nice way.
Applause. The first time tonight.
Nurturing. That's called
There it is.
nurturing.
She's learning.
She's
A hyper
learning.
masculine is teaching her. That's it.
Oh, ouch.
Don't unmute yourself. Do not unmute yourself.
Just take it. Just take it. That's it. Just take it.
No.
And,
I love to hear those words. Come on now.
let me get back to my point, bro.
I'm going to bed because the later it gets, the more silly I get, guys.
Let me just finish off.
She needs some milk. She's sleeping.
Let me finish off with this. I would piggyback, and yeah, let's just call it what it is. We're all toxic at the end of the day, but disrespect is disrespect. Insubordination is insubordination. Let's call it what it is instead of trying to lump it into what it is. And I think if you even go back to earlier what we were saying about when we're talking to Sam, is just like we just want to phrase and want to frame everything into one thing, and it's just like let's call it what it is. Let's just start doing that. Like if you're being disrespectful, you're being disrespectful. If you're being the B, then you're being a B. You know what I'm saying? If you're abusing your power, if you're over asserting yourself, you're over asserting yourself. That's just what it is. But it's not toxic masculinity. No, because masculinity is masculinity, femininity is femininity, but there's ways to overdo it and there's ways to underdo it.
And if you're lying about being hormonal during your cycle and you're not hormonal or Aggie, then you're being a liar. You're not being being toxically feminine. You're a liar. You're taking advantage of.
You're just being the bitch. That's it. Since we can't curse on this live. That's pretty much what you're doing. That if you're using that, people like to use the little excuses, but you're just being that, And if I'm being rough, then that's what I'm doing. I'm being rough. I'm not being a toxic masculine. I'm just being rough.
So why is yours being rough and mine is being a B?
Oops.
Good night.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Wow.
And then you have a minute to say what you're gonna say because at 3:30.
Well, what is it then for me then? What do you call it for me?
Being a B.
Okay, well then if that's what you want to phrase it, then go ahead.
What? No. Oh no.
Listen, you phrase it how you want to phrase it, but I said it how I said it.
Oh, not you saying what you're saying, but it ain't landing.
I said what I said.
Oh wow.
I said.
Thank you all for joining. Sam, Danielle, you got off quick, girl. You usually on here talking trash. Oh, the realist wasn't here.
You solved that puzzle. You did.
I just did like just now.
Real quick.
Just now, like literally off the dome. Love you, girl. Oscar for commenting, Jay commenting, everybody who commented. I'm sorry, Chev, you commented. Everybody who commented, thank you. You guys are making this wonderful. I appreciate the conversation. And that's what we lack. We lack a lot of that in the world today, and that's why we can't define or can't use our vocabulary to define and to explain things. So thank you for joining. I appreciate you all. Like Ashley said, same place, same time next week. The topic for
What's
next
next week's
week.
conversation? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What's the topic?
He's
for next
asking
week?
the question that you're about to say, but didn't let you.
Yeah, my bad.
Go to it.
Go ahead.
Toxic.
Toxic masculinity.
He's asking what now?
Hyper.
He's asking the question that you were about to actually chime in and say.
Oh, the
Because
topic for next week?
Yeah.
he doesn't have
Do
nurture.
black men envy black women?
Wait, say that one time.
What?
Do black men envy black women?
Ooh. Can you
No.
Hyper
I'll leave it at that.
masculinity.
Calm down. You don't have to. Don't. You don't got. That was the topic for
No,
next
leave it-
week. Why you all antsy? We're not going to do this for 3 hours right now. No, the topic for next week is do black men envy black women, and that is the second category. If we do a first topic, then I'll let you know.
Nah,
what that
just go
is,
right
but
into that one.
That is the main topic for.
Just
next
go right
week.
into that one next week. 'Cause that one's gonna be loaded. I might actually come back. Next week. Just
Not
for
you
that.
actually
Bonnet
might
on,
actually
baby.
come back.
Bonnet on.
And if you don't, we will be just fine. You
Hello.
said it
And
like
Oh
have
yeah,
been.
really? Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and have been.
fine.
Absolutely.
Come on, 'cause we've been doing this for a long time, baby.
3 years, baby.
Listen.
Going on it. What's
Come on.
up?
Hey, we about to turn it up now.
And was.
Listen, y'all, we about to turn it up.
Hopefully with better internet connection so you don't lag next time.
Listen, I'm on a Mac.
Me
So
too.
am
That
I.
says a lot.
So am I.
That says a lot.
Actually.
I'm on a Mac. I'll have a better setup next week. Trust me.
We're
I'm on the
all
Mac as well.
I'm on the Mac too, but that has nothing to do with internet.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with y'all side. My
You
internet
got
is
to
good.
pay the bill. You got to pay the bill.
Okay,
You can't
Pixels.
use your hotspot. Your hotspot not gonna work.
I'm going to bed.
Come pay it for me.
The neighbor's
Use your
Wi-Fi. You
hotspot.
trying to hook up.
Come pay it for me, Mr. Real Estate.
So thank you again for joining. Y'all go to sleep because I'm about to, because I do want to
Okay.
get up and try to
I have to shower.
Okay.
before I resort to liposuction. All right.
All right.
Y'all have a good night
Good
now.
night.
All right. Have a good one. Good night.
Good night. So apparently I'm the only one that doesn't believe that there is such thing as toxic masculinity. Oh no. Actually, Stelson believes also that there is no such thing as toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. What do you think? Make sure you just, comment. The conversation continues even after the live. Make sure you comment. Again, please be sure to share. And on our YouTube, which is Raw News No Fluff, make sure you like, subscribe, and click for those notifications so that you can engage. Also, Neil, thank you for your engagement. Much appreciation. I think you might need to click that link and join because you have a lot of good stuff to say too. A few of you were missed tonight. But again, same place, same time, every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Join us. Thanks for everyone.